Our meeting, I now call this to order. So if you'll please stand and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. And I'd like to welcome you all here to our first meeting of 2026. And it looks like we're going to have a wonderful meeting here today. It's always nice to be recognizing our long-term employees. So with that, and you know what I did? Yeah, you gave me that paper and then I wrote something on the back of it. Now I had to find it. So we're going to start off with Edgar Hernandez. Oh, I'm sorry. Thank you. He's going to keep me in. I'm a little out of practice. So, clerk of the board, will you please call the roll?
Yes, absolutely. Director Cusworth.
Here.
Director Buss. Here. Director Huffer.
Yes.
Director Nichols.
Yes.
Director Roscoe.
Yes.
Thank you very much. And now that that's over, we can get to something that's very interesting, and that is to honor our employees. Because of course, without our employees, we don't really have much of an organization here. So let's start off with Edgar Hernandez. He's been with us for 10 years.
Hello, everyone.
So I'll go first and then you can go, okay?
We have to say a few words about you first.
I love the enthusiasm, Edgar. Good job.
Introduces and tell us a little bit about
So yes, Edgar's been with the district for 10 years. He is our fleet technician assistant. We have a fleet department of 2 individuals. So he does quite a bit for us in the field, making sure all of our vehicles are in top running order. He also oversees a lot of our small equipment of our operations. So anything from chainsaws to weed whips to you name it, he's handling it, right? But then he's also continued over the 10 years gaining more and more experience with us, which we've seen him grow as a professional. He's highly qualified. He's eager to learn, which is always great to see. And he's just always looking for more responsibility in his role, which is great, and just improving his skill set as a teammate, but then also specifically in the fleet technician world that he lives every day and helps all of our crews. On a personal note, he is a little bit of an entrepreneur. I've heard that he does on the weekends. He has a online cart business. So if anyone's looking for a random part, Edgar's your guy. He can help you find the part that you need for your car. So if you're looking for something, reach out to Edgar. He's also known to be very helpful with family members and friends' cars. So he's always ready to help people fix their vehicles and bring his professional experience that he's learned, but it's also something that he takes home with him. And then additionally, he's also a musician. So he plays bass guitar, highly involved in his church music program. He's very proud of that. He puts in a lot of time there. Which is great. Just a great member of the community when he goes home. So great with us, serving the community, and goes home and does his own thing with his community as well. So thank you, Edgar, for your 10 years of service tonight.
Yeah.
I'm gonna keep this short. Just thank you for the award, and it's been a learning experience working with the people, different departments, recreation, and I like working here. And that's it. Thank you. Thank you.
All right, thanks so much. So he's gonna take a little photo. And the actual, we normally also include a little like brochure with the prizes you get based on years of service, or options on how to get a little financial, like spend a little money on an award, but that isn't here until tomorrow. So apologies, so you'll all get them. Who's up?
Now we're going to be having Xavier. Come on up. And Xavier told me I have it done as 10 years, but it's actually 11 years because he didn't make it here last year. So, all right, Xavier.
All right, so tonight we are celebrating Xavier's 10 years, which yes, he's been here for 11, but we're celebrating 10 of full-time service. However, his history with the district goes back much further. Xavier began his career with CRPD in 2006 as a part-time seasonal cashier at the Newberry Park High School pool. After completing his lifeguard certification through CRPD, he became a lifeguard in the summer of 2007. He continued to advance quickly. He's a quick learner, becoming a swim instructor, then a senior guard, and by 2010, the assistant manager of Newberry Park High School. In 2011, he stepped into the role of pool manager at the Thousand Oaks High School pool. In 2015, he was hired as a full-time pool operator manager. He became a Red Cross instructor and trainer. He also taught first aid to our staff and to the public, as well as lifeguard training classes. Xavier also leads the CRPD training initially 2 times a year for our staff. Xavier transitioned to the recreation coordinator position, taking on the significant responsibility of recruiting, hiring, and training our part-time aquatic staff. Today, that includes approximately 30 year-round employees, along with an additional 50 seasonal staff each summer to support lessons and pool operations. Since the last time that he appeared before the board, Xavier has continued to grow professionally. He has served as the District 8 Aquatics representative for CPRS and held leadership roles with the Southern California Public Pool Operators Association, including secretary, vice president, and president. Might be an overachiever. And in 2022, he was recognized with the CPRS Rising Professional Award. When asked what he is most proud of in the last 5 years, he said his ability to recruit, hire, and retain staff through the lifeguard shortage post-COVID and currently, expanding the training and certification of courses and in diversifying specialty programs to increase revenue, including bringing the CRPD swim team year-round. He's worked to double the size of the youth volunteer program over the past year. These volunteers assist with swim lessons and summer camps, which provide a meaningful experience that prepares them for their first lifeguard job and develops the next generation of lifeguards for us. He's also known for pioneering new approaches by altering existing systems. He's updated and streamlined aquatics practices by leveraging the district's existing racquetball software and leading the transition to an online lap swim reservation system that is easy to use and remains in place today. I'm not done, sorry. Xavier also serves on the Marketing and Special Events Committee and contributes strong ideas, that they are. He is in the mastermind behind all of the fun social media reels for the aquatics unit. When Xavier isn't splashing at the CRPD pool, he enjoys traveling to Hawaii to visit family, coaching the Westlake JV water polo team, and exploring new restaurants and breweries. We are proud to celebrate Xavier more than 10 years of dedicated service to and we are grateful to you for all that you have done for us in CRPD. Thank you.
Thanks, guys.
Just want to first off say thank you to my team for the flattering photos. I really appreciate those. They were really good, really good, good memories. Thank you to the board, thank you to admin, all of you guys. I wouldn't be here without my team, specialists, and my greatest mentor and boss, Dee Pearson. Thank you to Melissa Rahue for the last 2 years of my professional development. Love my job, love aquatics, and thank you. It's been a pleasure.
Fabulous photo.
Oh yeah. Awesome.
Thanks.
Can David Cobb Adams go to the podium, please? So seeing David Cobb Adams written out is actually kind of funny to me because he's more affectionately called just Cobb or Dave, but most people know him as Cobb. So 10 years with the district, recently promoted just over a year to grounds worker 2. He's currently stationed at Pepper Tree Playfield. Professionally, he's a great grounds worker, very well-rounded. He's gained a lot of experience working on a variety of the crews and working throughout the whole park system. He's kind of a jack of all trades. He can do multiple responsibilities, working on turf projects, irrigation, shrubs, trees, and all kinds of different maintenance tasks, and doing it all very well. He's a great guy to have on the crew. He gets along with everybody, and he just has a really easygoing mindset. He's also always willing to help, right? So it's always good to have him alongside is what his teammates and fellow crew members say about him. Personally, he is a local product of Thousand Oaks. He's married. He went to University Elementary, Los Cerritos Middle School, and T.O. High School. Big SoCal sports fan, Dodger and Kings fan, but he also roots for the Raiders. So tough go. Hopefully you guys find a coach soon. But at least he's great at picking winners other than NFL teams, because I've heard recently he's been pretty successful in some of our football pools that the crews do. Heard he was a big winner recently. So congrats on that, Cobb. But really glad to have him on the team. He's always very optimistic and ready to go to help. And thank you for your 10 years of service.
Thank you. Just love working here. Glad for the opportunity. Yeah, love everybody I work with. Get along with everybody. I like being outside and with working in the parks or outside. It's good. Don't like being inside. So, but yeah, thank you. And here's to 10 more.
Let's do the photo.
And now we have Mr. Andrew Mooney.
Oh, so I have the honor of doing Andrew. So the board is pretty familiar with Andrew because he's here all the time in board meetings. But for those of you who don't know, Andrew actually was born and raised in Camarillo. He's number 9 out of 10 kids. He's the youngest boy, so you can only imagine how he was spoiled. I'm sure all the siblings are. So anyone and everyone in Camarillo knows a Mooney somewhere. He was a high school football star at Cam High and got a football scholarship to UC Davis the first year they did that. But as it would happen, and by the way, he was a classmate of Melissa's. They were there at the same time. I don't know that you guys ever knew each other, but you were there at the same time. But while playing football and being engaged in that sport up there at Davis, he blew out his knee a couple times. So he would basically need a lifetime of physical therapy. And he figured it'd probably be cheaper to marry a therapist than to pay for all that therapy. So Stephanie and the girls are here tonight to root on Andrew. And after UC Davis, where he got a BS in landscape architecture, he got a master's in public administration from CSUN while working here. But I remember his interview, and when we hired him 10 years ago, I remember he had this great resume with these great landscape architecture design firms doing like estates, like mansions in Montecito and Santa Barbara and stuff like that. And we're like, why are you coming to a park district? And I loved his answer. I think maybe it might have gotten him hired, but he basically said, yeah, I'm spending more money on somebody's yard in Montecito than you guys spend on a whole entire park for the community, but no one gets to see it. He goes, I really want my work to be seen. I want people to enjoy what I do. And that's kind of why I want to get into the public sector. So I loved that answer. And so he became a park planner, then a senior park planner, and now recently was selected a few years back as the director of parks and planning. And just to appreciate the scope of what that means for our agency, he's overall, he's in charge of grounds, ultimately grounds maintenance, building maintenance, rangers, contracts, planning, and special teams, which includes our equipment operator, our pest control, our irrigation tech, and fleet. So that is a big area of responsibility. Over his career, he's touched every single park, not virtually every park. I was going to write virtually, but every single park. And that's because he came in after we had decided to do the drought response projects and basically removed turf virtually everywhere. So he had the honor of basically coming in as a landscape architect and saying, we're taking out all this stuff. But the great thing is he was able to put in the right kind of landscaping for our climate. And so many people have actually complimented us on the beauty that he's kind of added to the park and his team, the grounds guys and stuff. So they've done a great job. He's done virtually 3/4 of the playgrounds that we have. So we have 44 playgrounds, and I think he's done 30 of them in 10 years. And then some of the parks you guys might know since he's been here: Sopwee Trails Community Park, Page Lane Park, Teen Center Backyard, Global Adult Community Center, their kind of building refresh and backyard. And he specifically said, I don't really like to talk about it because of the significance of it, but I am going to, because there was different ways we could have gone at the time in honor of, and I see Brian's here, right? Like, it's silly to start talking about it, but the Healing Garden after the Borderline shooting, we could have just like found a outside guy and just had somebody else come in and do that, but he took on that project. Sorry. Gosh darn. Whew. I don't know. I have no idea why. I mean, I do know why. And then of course our master plan and our water conservation plan. But he said today when I was talking to him, well, what's your favorite of all the things you've done? What's your favorite playground? He actually said TO Community Park. And I'm like, okay, that's a pretty nice playground. Why? Because I got to do it with Collins. She got to pick out a lot of the stuff. So apparently we have a budding playground designer right behind us. So he's mostly, and what he's most proud of is his staff and crew members in the district. He loves working with everybody, as you can kind of see day in and day out here. And he just loves everybody focusing on how to make the Conejo Valley a great place to live. He enjoys football, especially college football, Notre Dame to be precise. He loves camping in the outdoors, family get-togethers, and most of all, he loves being a dad. And he loves being with his wife, Stephanie, and his 3 girls, Scarlett, Amelia, and Collins. But whether or not he's a good dad, I do not know. So you will have to hear from the experts. Ladies. If you want to say something, you can, but you don't have to.
I like him because he grows his beard out and he looks like an old man with it.
He's probably more into Halloween than we are.
That's it. Right? All right. And who had piano lessons tonight? Okay, the 2 of them. So yeah, so a big, huge shout out to Stephanie because she had to rush up here from Camarillo to get here from piano lessons. So anyway, I'm going to close. Thank Andrew profusely on his 10 years, but I'm going to close with his actual, not even the draft. This is his actual performance review. It has a lot of stuff, right? Like, do all these things, yada, yada, do, that kind of thing. The very last line of his performance reviews sort of says, establish and uphold date night, 1 night per week without kids, just you and Steph.
What happened?
How are we doing there?
Oh, it's great.
All right. Thanks, Andrew.
Oh, great. Thank you. No, yeah, total surprise to the family to be here and everything, which is awesome. But no, I really love what I do every day. And that was something that was big for me to change from the private sector to the public sector, is being able to provide the facilities that all of us do, whether it's, Melissa getting us money, making sure we're staffed, making sure we have IT services, Rochelle and her team doing all the different programming, all that stuff, all the of my staff here that helps keep the parks maintained. It's really rewarding day in and day out. But it's really about the people and the community that we have together to do what we do. And that starts obviously with my boss and the guy to the right with Jim, also the support from the board, but then also the support from our team, from the administrators or directors now, throughout all of our ranks. So, but really honored to be able to work here and do some really cool stuff for the community. So good stuff. Thank you. Collins lied to me too.
And now we'd like to hear about Billy Sosa. Mhm.
See you, man. Gotta get composure.
Billy Rico Sosa. Great name. Always makes me smile, just like Billy. So Billy's been with us for 20 years. He recently was promoted to irrigation technician. He's been in the field as a 1 and a 2. Gained a lot of experience in grounds over the years. Spent a lot of time, nearly all of our parks, working as a groundskeeper too, even. So that is a designated position at typically our playfields and community parks. So you're kind of working solo, and that takes a special person to be able to do that. And Billy got a lot of experience throughout the district at diverse facilities and things. Professionally, Billy's the first guy in, last guy out. Always does a great job. Very responsive to the public, to other staff, as well as rec staff. Very intelligent member of our team. He's always learning, always looking for a better way to do things. We're really looking forward to what he can do in his new role with irrigation tech. The position is district-wide. You're looking at processes that we're doing district-wide, working with the crew leaders, staff, as well as the supervisors, and coming up with solutions. Things are changing, whether it's the technology or how we are able to provide water through the parks, right? So all kinds of different stuff, and I definitely think Billy's going to be able to really grow into that role, which is great to have that opportunity for him. He just has a great attitude. He's friendly. Like I said, he makes you smile every time you see him. I always get a hi, Mr. Andrew, and that was before I was his boss's boss, or however you wanted to structure this thing. But that was when I was just a supervisor, project manager. He would always warm and kind, which is great. Personally, he lives in Oxnard. I've never seen it before, but I heard he's a great dancer. I've heard he's a break dancer, actually. I was shocked. Yep. This is from Bob Nunes, man. And so, but he does have a passion for cars, right? Some people say they have a passion for cars. Billy, it's kind of an understatement. He might have a car problem. Some people might say. He loves his cars, but typically like mechanics or car guys, they might have a mess at their house or mess in their yard, driveway, garage, whatever. Not Billy. Billy loves each one of his cars. He's got a plan for each one of his cars. He's working on it. He has a range of classics to a more modern Corvette. So he's got all kinds of different cool stuff that he does when he's not here, which is always great to hear that people have other passions in life and doing other things. So how many cars do you have now, Billy?
Like 13.
Okay.
13 or something like that.
How many of those cars run?
Every one of them.
Yep.
Every one of them registered and insured and drives.
And that's actually pretty exceptional, because a lot of people that have that many cars, that's not the case. So, but anyways, Billy's a great guy. Happy to have him on the team. Again, great attitude. Always happy to talk with Billy. Thank you for your 20 years of service, Billy.
I'll keep it short and sweet. Friedel was like the person that basically hired me. Like out of everybody that's in the room still, Friedel's like the last one of the old crowd that hired me. Andrew was the person that gave me the opportunity to promote to the irrigation technicians. I want to say thank you. And I want to thank the board and everybody that's part of the park district that gives us the ability to do what we do, and it actually sends us out for the trainings, because the trainings do help a lot. Like I love all the different trainings I've gone to, from the colleges to management school to irrigation school, like all these different programs. I love going to them and I love learning all the new stuff. So I want to thank everybody for all that.
There you go.
So now we'd like to call up Kurt Gunning.
So let's chat a little bit about Kurt Gunning.
Feels like a roast.
It is my pleasure to recognize Kurt Gunning for 20 years of service with CRPD. While many know him best as the supervisor of Borchard Community Center, a role he has held for the past 11 years. His CRPD journey also includes serving as the recreation coordinator for both the cultural unit and the Conejo Community Center. As a Newbury Park native, Kurt brings a genuine connection to the community he serves. He creates a welcoming and comforting environment for countless residents who consider Borchard their second home. Over the past 2 decades, there's very little in the recreation field that Kurt hasn't experienced. A few highlights include being a team player. Kurt is always willing to step up. One of his peers stated that Kurt will always take the time to stop and talk to you, make you feel heard, and help you if he can. In recent years, he has been an active contributor to the Professional Growth Committee, Marketing and Communications Committee, and the Staff Appreciation Committee. Kurt took the lead on the summer hiring process last year. He coordinates Safe Passage field study events, and he takes ownership for keeping the rec van fully stocked and ready to roll. He also uses it a lot. He's consistently developing a pipeline of emerging talent, and with staff regularly moving into higher roles when opportunities arise. He provides clear expectations while empowering his team to take ownership of their programs. He's respected by both staff and peers. He is frequently sought out by others across the district for guidance, support, and advice. A staff said, Kurt is not only a great friend and coworker, but has been a mentor to me and many others in the district. I firmly believe that I wouldn't be where I am today without his support, guidance, and willingness to empower the people he works with. We are better as a district because of Kurt. He is a true idea person. He demonstrates creativity and adaptability. Kurt successfully transitioned the flashlight egg hunt from a single large event at Conejo Creek South to multiple neighborhood-based events. During COVID, he led the creative and well-received You've Been Egged campaign to keep the community engaged. More recently, he and his team hosted the popular Day of the Dead event and have continually expanded skateboard programming in anticipation for the new skate park. Tech savvy and forward thinking, he has integrated new software into daily operations and produced training videos that staff can reference anytime they need a refresher. Outside of work, Kurt stays busy with numerous hobbies and a couple of side businesses. You can find him on YouTube also, if you want to know how to insulate your garage door. He is a proud husband of 20 years to Rebecca and a devoted dad to daughter Kaylee, who are in the audience. Kaylee actually grew up participating and volunteering for countless CRPD programs, and now is officially old enough to be added to the auto insurance policy, which to me means might be getting really close to job availability. As a family, they enjoy traveling for Irish dance competitions, spending time with friends, and seeking out interesting and obscure destinations along the way. I asked Kurt what he is most proud of in the last 5 years, and he said, above all, I am proud of the work I get to do every day. I genuinely enjoy coming to work and seeing the results of our efforts. I have successfully led my team through unprecedented challenges, mostly notable the COVID-19 pandemic. I have remained committed to providing essential services to At Promise youth in our community. I have been directly involved in planning, design, and community engagement efforts for the new skate park, working closely with Parks and Planning staff as well as the California Skate Parks to help move the project forward in a way that reflects the community's needs and priorities. And finally, I only visited the emergency room once in the last 5 years. The first 5 years I was here, I think he was in there every other year, if not every year, his poor wife. Kurt, we really appreciate your dedication, your leadership, your creativity, and your service to CRPD. Congratulations on this impressive milestone and all that you've accomplished. We look forward to many more years.
Thank you. Well, thank you, Board of Directors, and that is so great. I'll explain that in a second. Thank you, Michael. Thank you. Those were not beers, by the way. Thank you, Board of Directors and admin for putting up with me for 20 years. I have a passion for Coke Zeros. Michael hates the sound of them opening, so this has become a thing in the office. So thank you. I hope they're cold. Something that I didn't remember when Rochelle had asked me about the last 20 years was recently I had somebody ask me, being at 20 years and 11 years at Borchard, if it gets repetitive and boring. And I had never even thought of it that way. And it definitely does not. Every day is a new thing. Every day is a new challenge. But the biggest thing, like she talked about, was the people. Here we've got behind me, every single one of you that was sitting here looking at it, all the staff behind me started as participants in our programs. We just found a picture of Brenda when she was like yay high on a field trip we were on a couple years ago. Michael, I worked with him as a rec leader. I've got participants here, Chris, that were volunteers that have moved up. On my way out the door to come here today, I gave a high five to a kid that was coming into our martial arts class, who his mom was pregnant with her when I started. So it's the relationships. That's what keeps it fun and interesting. And I love what I do, and I'm thankful I get to keep doing it. Of course, thank you for my wife for putting up with my crazy work schedule and all the drama that happens, and Kaylee the same. Appreciate you too, but thank you.
Make sure I got the right one.
And is Craig Welling here? Okay, I didn't think I saw him. Are we going to talk about Craig?
No, yeah, we'll hold for his next
We'll hold off
opportunity.
on that.
Thank you.
Okay, well, I'm sure that all of our board members have a few comments. How about if we start over here with Director Orozco?
Great. Thank you so much, Chair. I just want to say thank you all so much for your commitment and your years of service. It's really wonderful to hear all of your guys' different experiences and different departments that you work in, and how long you've shared with us. Kurt, I really appreciate your note about the relationships in the community that keep it interesting and new. And I think that's what makes CRPD so special, is the relationships that you guys build with the community year over year. So thank you so much for each and every one of you.
All right, thank you. I just was reflecting on having been through this process here multiple times now. It's always refreshing to hear the stories and behind the scenes and the things that we don't hear about very often, but we should hear about these things more often, I think. But I've done this in previous organizations that I worked with and in other types of organizations. And typically the accolades that we've heard tonight about everybody is the only time you hear those is at events like this. But fortunately for us, we hear about these accolades regularly because of the work that you folks do. And I say work because you get paid for it, but it sounds like it's a lot of fun, and that makes it even better. In fact, I just know Kurt just mentioned a work schedule. I sometimes wonder if anybody had a work schedule because I see everybody everywhere all the time. So it's obviously impacting your personal lives, and scheduling and rescheduling. I know we've got a lot of special events, emergencies, broken sprinklers, you name it, things don't happen on a schedule. So thank you all for, doing what you do on a regular basis, whatever that schedule might be. I appreciate, the leadership, like Kurt, that you provided over the years. I was just thinking about Billy. I don't know if you remember, but I stopped in at Triumpho. This is a few years ago. We had a lot of rain, and the softball fields were not usable for like weeks and weeks. And people were complaining. So I thought, I just got to go over there and see what's going on. So I could see it firsthand. And Billy was there in the shop. We just sat down and just started talking like I'd known the guy for like 30 years, just had a wonderful conversation, kind of explained to me all the things were going on, went out there, took a look at it. But just to, know that everybody is like that around here. You can just, have a conversation with them and they'll just tell you whatever you need to know. Appreciate that. David, glad to hear we're still employing TO high school graduates. It's always, that's good. Like to have Kurt, you're native as well. It's always nice. I love the fact that we still have these, preschoolers that we now employ full time. And so it's just like it's an automatic process. We got to keep that going up. Edgar, I need your phone number. I might need some car parts. So make sure you get back to me on that. And then Andrew, I just want to emphasize, I see we've got a city council member trying to hide in the back row, but David Newman is here. And I know our general manager was extolling all the many things that you've been involved in over the years. And I know the Healing Garden is special for our whole community. But I think what really impacted me the most about that whole project, as while the city contributed the financial support for that, was the fact that there was a challenge to have that done in a year, and it was done in a year. And in large part to you, because while you may have helped with the design a little bit, also was implementation. So I think that's just a reflection. And I must say, on that day, that park looked spectacular. So thanks to the grounds crew, because I know you folks had a little bit to do with that. But just the whole, it's things like that support the whole community, that was an idea, and now it's left a legacy. And maybe that's why you left Montecito. I'm not sure, but thanks for hanging around. And Xavier, I'm glad to see that you're able to get out of the pool a little bit and walk on 2 feet. But I do see you over there when we go to CLU sometimes, and it's like you're always there somewhere doing something. Of course, D is too, but this is your night, so I'm just talking to you. But thanks for keeping that going, and I know you have a legacy of your own with all the aquatics program. Those other organizations, that's good for you. No, that's also helpful too, because I know a lot of us are involved with statewide organizations, and that benefits all of us. But thanks for just kind of pushing the envelope a little bit in a positive way. That's always helpful, always to get those new ideas. Thank you all, and thanks for the families that are here tonight, because like going back to that work schedule, that's not really a schedule. I know that affects the families a lot. So thank you for your support, and thank you for being here tonight.
Thank you. Director Buss.
Yes, so I have to say that listening to all the comments about all of you and the many years that you've worked here, I made some notes because I found it incredibly impressive, all of your accomplishments, from the immense knowledge in a very specialized field of fleet automotive, which is a very well, not a lot of people even know how to work on cars anymore, to be honest. I don't. And then the commitment to growth, I think, just speaks volumes of all of you, because yes, we can provide opportunities, but it doesn't mean that people will take them. And the fact that you have really is huge for all of you. I love hearing that people are always willing to help. You sharing your gifts with the public. I think a lot of us sometimes go towards a life about money and not really going towards a life that shares with the public, because you guys all work in fields where if you worked into the private sector, you may make more money. But the fact that you choose to do this and provide service to your community is huge. And all of us reap the benefits of it. And so I just really appreciate that. I think too that dedicating to serving the community on the higher level, taking advantage of the trainings, being a present team member, to have someone say that about you for your staff, I mean, that's pretty impressive. To take the time to actually be there with your staff, that's huge. And I love hearing too that you have a work-life balance and have all of these passions. I mean, 13 cars that run, that is extremely impressive. I can tell you, I have sold houses where there was 26 cars that did not run, and it was just a junkyard. And so that is, I don't know where you store them all. I'm a little curious about this, but I just think I was blown away by that. So I just think it speaks volumes to the culture of the organization to hear all of these wonderful things about you. And I will tell you, I've grown up here, and I do get a lot of phone calls and texts, and you guys really make us look good, and I just thank you for it. So, thank you very much.
Director Huffer.
Thank you, Director Cusworth. This is always one of my favorite events every year, to be able to recognize our employees for 10, 20, 35 years of service. I mean, there aren't many places anymore where you can say somebody's been with the same company for 35 years. So that says something about you. It also says something about the people running our organization, that it apparently is a nice place to work. It's also fun to see coworkers and family and friends who show up to these events. There have been some years where it gets a little bit out of hand. At least we don't have any balloons or signs this year. Sometimes we're a little overrun with balloons and signs, but it really is great to see your coworkers here support. Well, okay, there is one balloon. Sorry about that. Sort of hiding back there behind. Yeah, okay. All right. But it is really nice to see your coworkers supporting you like this. They certainly don't have to do that, and to have them come out is really great. It's been said before, it's you folks that make us look good. You represented us to the community, and it's the feedback that we get from the community that tells us what a spectacular job you folks are doing. Most of you have daily contact with the public. I know Edgar, working on the fleet, you don't quite have as much daily contact, but I know a couple of years ago we had a chance to go over to the Newbury Park Service Yard, the Borchard Service Yard, and to see all the equipment that's over there. And it's not like we have a staff of 20 or 30 people working on all that equipment. There are just a couple or three of you. So Xavier, I have a chance to periodically wave to you as I'm going by in the morning in my full-on sprint, right? Okay, well, slow walk past the pool there. But I do wish that you could somehow rearrange the scheduling for your polar plunge so that maybe it could be done when I'm in town, because I did that a few years ago and it was so much fun. Sorry I wasn't able to do it the last couple of years, but everything you've been involved with not just our pools, but sounds like the several organizations that you're a part of as well. David and Billy, I spent a lot of time on the fields. Most of it is at Conejo Creek South on the soccer fields, but I do get to other play fields, particularly up in Newbury Park. And without exception, the people who are using the fields, the kids, the parents, and the grandparents who are out there in the fields, they are always complimenting the park district on what nice condition the fields are kept in. As I said, Conejo Creek South is sort of where I hang out, but all the fields are in really great shape. And if there's whether it's a sprinkler that needs repairing, or, a gopher hole, whatever it might be, things really get taken care of. So we really do appreciate that. Andrew was already mentioned, but first of all, it's hard to believe it's been 10 years. It doesn't seem like that long ago that you were the new kid on the block, but no longer. But of everything that you have done for the district in the last 10 years. Doug already mentioned it, but probably the most meaningful for me is the healing garden, and what we with the city managed to pull off in just a year's time. Because I know we talked to people where other communities where they had events something like this, and it took years and years and years for something to finally happen. And the fact that with the planning and with the execution, that we had something really, really special available for in just 1 year. So that was really important to me, and I know to the entire community. And Kurt, hiding your balloon back there. All the programs, all the special events that you have going on over at Borchard, you know, whether it's the 4th of July programs that you have over there, the Day of the Dead, or the regular programming you have, the feedback we get from people who are regular patrons of Borchard and people who are there only occasionally, absolutely love what's going on. And I know how excited you and the staff are about hopefully finally getting the skate park started and finished. That I'm not going to try it, but I certainly will want to come out and watch you running the skate park and using the skate park. Right. Yeah. So anyway, thank you all very much for what you do, not for us, but for the community. The community really loves all of our parks, all of our programs, everything that we provide for the community. And the fact that you keep coming back year after year means a lot to us and more importantly to the community. So thank you.
Well, I'd like to thank our board of directors. I'm going to add just a couple of comments. I like when we said you know, Edgar and Cobb and Billy, we don't see your faces that much, but basically it's because of you. You are the face of Reckham Park. You are the ones that are making Reckham Park look the way it does by keeping up our equipment, by keeping up our parks. That is the face that we have to our community. So thank you so much for what you do. And Edgar, I just started taking up ukulele, and I have a huge respect for anybody who plays string instruments. It's really hard. It's good to, you know, get some experience in doing things to appreciate what other people can do. I'd also like to say a little bit about Kurt. My family, we grew up in Thousand Oaks, so my kids always went to the Conejo Community Center and the Thousand Oaks Community Center, but my husband has lately, he had a art workshop at Borchard, and he's going to have another one, and he has exclaimed to me on how friendly your staff is, on how much he likes to work there, and when he wanted to do a workshop again, he immediately went back to Borchard. So you have really built a community feeling there that he could feel, and it's always nice when I have someone in my family or myself have somewhat of a personal interaction with staff. So thank you very much for that. That's meant a lot to him, and he's excited to come back and do that. I'd also like to say a little bit about Andrew. Andrew, of course, I know a little bit more than a lot of our employees because he's always here. Andrew is a man that's very good with words. If he wants us to approve something, he has a lot of words. He gives us a lot of very detailed explanations, and he's answered every question we could also have. So, I mean, how could we possibly, you know, not approve anything that Andrew wants? However, he has another way with words. I had a friend of mine who wanted to do something at the park, and he came and talked to Andrew and gave his explanation, and he told me that Andrew looked at him and said, no, and didn't say anything else. And so my friend said, I guess I'll take that as a no. So Andrew is good with words, whether it's a lot of words or it's just one word. And now Xavier, I've said a little bit about Xavier. Xavier is a really fun and great person to be around. I know some things about Xavier that maybe some of you don't know, like I know his opinions on mermaids. So you may not have known that. You know, he's very involved with water, so of course you would think that Xavier might have an opinion on mermaids that he wants to express. But I also know there's not just pool water that Xavier knows a lot about. I happen to know that he drank water that had once been in a toilet. So, and I'll just leave it there if he wants to.
Wow.
Yeah, I did. Xavier and I both bonded over the water that had been in a toilet, but it was actually purified water at that point. But anyway, so it's really fun. Xavier and I have, it's been delightful to be with him in Leadership Conejo. He's a fun guy to be with, and I'm glad to have gotten to know him on a little bit more personal level. So thank you very much to all of our employees. You know, we wouldn't be here without you, and we wouldn't be the great Reckham Park organization that we are without our employees. So thank you. We'll just have a 5-minute break and we'll have a picture. Let's come up and have a picture. That was always very enjoyable and welcome. Good to see you. So we have some, we're on number 4 of our agenda. We have some items from the public, and we would like to start with our very own George Lang.
Thank you, Honorable Chair Cusworth, Honorable Vice Chair Marissa Buss, and the rest of you great board members. It's a great opportunity and a privilege to be here, especially on a night like this when you're honoring other great people here associated with the Conejo Recreation and Park District. I'm just going to mention that Saturday I attended the 150th anniversary of the Stagecoach Inn Museum. Prior to the event starting, Chair Cusworth and I had a chance to chat, and one of the things she brought up was, I expected you to be at all our monthly meetings to talk about the MRCA, and I wasn't aware that I was expected to be here more frequently, but I will now from now on. Maybe you'll see more of me every so often. And the second thing I wanted to mention is my affiliation with the transition of the Park District, our offices, our meeting venues, and so forth. And it's amazing what the Park District has done over these many years. When I first joined the Park Board, our offices were on Boardwalk Street, right across the street from the Tarantula Hill Brewery now. And then we moved to offices on Wilbur, and then we came here. But we had meetings in the old Global Center on Conejo School Road, and then we went to the, come on, George. Well, I guess we went to the Global Adult Center for many years, and then we transitioned here. But it's a progression that is meant to be, in the city and the Park District has such a great relationship. There are probably not many communities that enjoy that working relationship and are able to support each other and accomplishments. I brought a couple show and tell items I put on the dais. One was the calendar of the MRCA. And I think you know that the MRCA has a fire division, and this happens to be their calendar. And you have a chance, take a look at it, and you see how much we do. We're part of the state's mutual aid, so our equipment and personnel go throughout the state every year to address fire issues. In addition, I wanted to mention that and many of you already know this, but the Park District and the city have had so many great relationships. This one here, as you know, was for years the CRPD and the city occupied these buildings. And then based on the construction issues, we had to go our separate ways. And the city hall moved from various buildings, I think at least 3 different buildings during that period of time. And as I mentioned previously, CRPD had its moves also. And now having this opportunity to acquire this building on a permanent basis is just phenomenal. It's already served us for many, I don't know how many years, Jim, but we've occupied this building, and what we've accomplished in not only maintaining it, but improving it. And then with this opportunity to own it and the future plans for developing something up on top of Fireworks Hill is just great. And I think our community definitely will benefit from this purchase that we are doing. So I won't talk anymore, but I did want to just say congratulations. You know, I know you have yet to more discussion and voting and so forth, but congratulations on the potential of acquiring this for not only CRPD, but for our community and our city. God bless.
Thank you, George. Mindy, is it Dorfman? Mhm.
First, I just want to say how lucky we are to be here tonight, because when you see people like that and employees like that, it only comes from the top. So that's where culture comes from for any company you work for. And clearly it's a really significant one here. Anyway, my name's Mindy Dorfman. I'm Lydia Kozlis. And we are here tonight on behalf of the Conejo Valley Art Museum, a 501c3 nonprofit, and has a long-standing cultural institution, has served this community since its formation in 1976. For nearly 5 decades, the museum has been placed where art, education, community come together, where all residents of all ages have been inspired, challenged, and connected through the visual arts. You may recall our well-attended Conejo Valley Art Walk, a 2-day juried fine art and designer craft show that was organized and managed by the museum since 1988 and was the museum's main fundraiser. Okay, sorry. Today, the Conejo Valley Art Museum finds itself without a physical home. Since 2023, the museum has been homeless, and all of its assets, its collection, archives, and educational materials carefully stored while the board works tirelessly to reestablish a permanent location. This has not been due to lack of a commitment or vision, but rather an ongoing challenge of securing suitable, sustainable space that serves both the museum and a broader community.
That is why we respectfully ask the Conejo Valley Recreation Park District to consider allowing the Conejo Valley Art Museum to use the Crowley House as a museum site once its structural issues have been completed. The Crowley House represents a unique opportunity. It is a space that holds historic and community value, and it has potential to become a vibrant cultural hub, one that welcomes families, students, artists, and visitors alike. An art museum in this location would not only preserve and activate the space, but also enrich the quality of life for the Conejo Valley residents. An art museum is more than a building with artwork on the walls. It is a place for education, creativity, and civic pride. It offers youth programs, school partnerships, exhibitions by local and regional artists, and accessible culture experiences for residents who may not otherwise have the opportunity to engage in arts. Communities with strong cultural institutions are stronger, more connected, and more vibrant places to live.
The Conejo Valley Art Museum is supported by a hardworking and deeply dedicated board of directors who are fully committed to bringing the museum back to life. This is a board that has persevered through uncertainty, remained fiscally responsible, and continues to plan thoughtfully to the museum's future. The goal is simple and steadfast: to reestablish a thriving art museum that serves the entire Conejo Valley. We believe that a partnership between the Conejo Valley Art Museum and the Conejo Valley Recreation and Park District could be mutually beneficial and deeply impactful. Together, we can ensure that the arts remain an essential and accessible part of our community's fabric. Thank you for your time and your consideration, and for all that you support the quality of life in the Conejo Valley. We look forward to the possibility of working together to give the Conejo Valley Art Museum a new home and a renowned future.
Thank you very much. Our next speaker is Brian Hunter.
Good evening. My name is Brian Hunter. I'm an associate board of directors member for the adjacent property to this large property now owned by Parks and Rec. little religious building next door used for a non-denominational Bible church. And I'm helping the board of directors to process over quite some period of time an application to develop a senior living project. We began quite some years ago and went through studies, submitted environmental impact report, and then we were denied without prejudice. We've redesigned several times. Then we put ourselves on pause while the city pursued TO 2045. And the city was subsequently re-land planned with new land use designations, and our property received a new land use designation at that time. And we approached the city once more about should we begin to process a new application for a new senior living facility. And they advised that we would wait until CRPD in the city were going to undergo a transaction. And until that was completed, then come back with a new application. So what we'd like to say tonight is that we're exceedingly supportive of what CRPD and city has done to acquire this parcel, all of the vacant land, of which our property has 3 lot lines that share with the city land that you have all bought. And we'd like to be very good neighbors, very supportive of whatever you want to do, whatever your plans are for open space, for parks. And if there's any interest or indication that you might have an interest to do, allow a senior development nearby you, maybe sharing some land, maybe buying land, and to come up with some design that's quite what would be interesting to your agency, would serve the community, that the city would be interested in the aesthetics of that kind of project. I think that what I'd like to express tonight is that we want to support you in every way. At the same time, we would like to do a project. And if we can acquire some more boundary land so the project can be right-sized economically, we would definitely be interested to talk to the board and to your representatives about that. And we're ready to proceed. I will mention that my first development application for that parcel was tax day of 2014, which has been some time, 12 years. And I've had 3 or 4 more studies done, serious studies, that all went to the previous planning departments. So we've been holding the line to do a project. We'd like to do it. If we can do a project with you all, we're quite excited to do it. We have to see what the final zoning comes down on the new land plan. I think they're getting close. Our previous owner, which was a doctor actually, before he sold us the property, when specific plan 17 was adopted, he wrote in a request to be annexed into that specific plan. We may, in fact, by city documents, already belong to specific plan 17, or we may need to annex in. But we think there's some basis for us to join together, put the property together, buy property, and to develop perhaps a medium-sized senior living project.
Can you end your comments soon? Can you wind up your thoughts? We usually keep it to 3 minutes.
I'll wind it up there. That's good enough. Again, I want to thank you very much.
I think you did a great job. Thank you.
Yeah, I want to thank you very much for having the opportunity to speak this tonight. And one last thing, what a great flavor of, I've never been to your agency before, never been to a meeting here, and the conduct of the meeting and all the people, what a great flavor of your Parks and Rec district. So thank you for having me tonight.
Okay, thank you very much.
Yeah.
And our final speaker that I have a speaker for is William Maple. And he has a folder here of information. Are you going to tell, is this for me or is this for, what's this for?
Be on 9A though. 9A, the actual agenda item.
Oh, I'm sorry. So you're going to be speaking at the actual agenda item. Okay, I'm sorry. Okay, so moving along. Approval of the agenda. Do I have an approval of the agenda?
I'll make a motion to approve the agenda.
Okay, thank you. And a second?
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes. And for the consent calendar, A and B, do I have a motion? Okay,
I'll move approval of consent items A and B.
and a second for that?
Second?
Okay, thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes. Number 7, deferred matters. We don't have any deferred matters. Items, I forgot to ask, do we have anyone online that wanted to make a comment? Okay. Does anyone online want to raise their hand to make a comment before I move on further? All right, so we'll move on. New items. I think this is our big item of the day. So 9A, acquisition of a City of Thousand Oaks owned property at 40143. Wait a second, we're doing a new thing now, aren't we? I'm going to have the Madam of the Clerk, or the Clerk of the Board, the Madam Clerk of our board is going to read this for us.
Thought I
It's a
almost got
new
away with that
thing
one.
that Director Nichols started, and I think it's very nice. So, Madam Clerk.
Yes. Acquisition of City of Thousand Oaks owned property at 401-403 West Hillcrest Drive, also known as Fireworks Hill, by Conejo Recreation and Park District in the amount of $30.4 million and related matters.
Okay, thank you. And Mr. Friedel, will you be leading this discussion, I assume?
Yes, thank you, Chair Cussworth and members of the board. I have the honor of presenting this item to you that essentially you have seen, having the opportunity under the appropriate sections of closed session to discuss price and terms of potentially acquiring this property. So this should not be news to you. Especially since the Planning Commission on Monday recommended approval of the development agreement, and on Tuesday the City Council approved the purchase and sale agreement and the first reading of the development agreement ordinance. So we are the third step in this process to then open escrow with the idea eventually that we acquire this property. So I'm going to kind of summarize the 6 recommendations very briefly, and then I'll kind of get into a little history. Akbar is very precise and concise with his presentation and knocked it out in, I don't know, less than 10 minutes. I, unfortunately for you guys, will take a little longer because we have really cool pictures. So you're looking at 401 and 403 Hillcrest along with Fireworks Hill. The recommendations are going to be approve a purchase and sale agreement. Spoiler alert, the price tag is $30.4 million. Approve a associated development agreement with that purchase and sale agreement. And really all that does is lock in the specific plan on the property for 30 years. Authorize a budget appropriation of $15.4 million for basically our down payment, our initial payment. We're going to get 13.4 from our own capital facilities and property acquisition reserve fund. And we very fortunately, and George Lang is sitting right here, the Santa Monica Mountains Conservancy awarded a $2 million grant this summer for this project as well. So that's how we get the 15.4 million. And then we're asking for authorization to allow, it says general manager, but the brains behind this will be Melissa, which I'm sure you're grateful for, to negotiate and execute a loan agreement or other debt instrument for the $15 million balance of the purchase price, and then authorize us to expend up to $200,000 for the costs associated with the transaction, including the debt financing, municipal advisor fees, bond counsel, bank counsel, and those related transactions. And then ultimately, through all this, find that this action that you're taking, these 6 actions you're taking, are exempt from CEQA. So with that, I want to do a little bit of description. So you are looking at Fireworks Hill in this image. The property, including the land that the buildings are on, altogether is about 61 acres. And we think it's in the close to the geographic center of town. It's, let's see here. It was first conceived of in the late 60s and ultimately constructed and built in 73. And to this day, William Maple knows more than I'll ever know about this part of the history and how this came to be. But it was the first city hall, and CRPD was part of that. And from my dusting off some old records I could find, it looked like CRPD put in $500,000 to the original $2 million purchase, or not purchase, $2 million construction cost of the project. So this started as a partnership with the city and Park District, and we didn't have any kind of fee ownership. It was just a leasehold, like, hey, Park District, we're going to build a civic center. We'd love you to be here. And it's kind of, kind of set the stage for so many good things the city and Park District did together in the years to come. We were both there, city and Park District here, at 401, 403 in, from 73 to 88. Yeah, 88, 15 years. And then we both left because, one, the city was just growing like gangbusters, and staff was growing with it, as was the Park District staff. So we were kind of outgrowing the building. And also they discovered that there was asbestos in the building at the time because it was built before people worried about that. And so there had to be extensive remediation for that. So the city left, we left, had a journey, visited some other sites, and eventually came back. So that's kind of how it looked in the early stages. And in looking at it, it is fun to stare at it if you're really, really familiar with our property, just because there are some notable things. Like you might notice there's cars on the roof of the building, for those of you that have only noticed solar panels up there. So yes, this is a parking deck. Like, this is a very beefy, strong building. And you can see the beautiful oak trees that we have all up the hillside now don't even exist on this photo for the most part. A lot of those, were planted. So just kind of the early stages here. And here we go with what we're actually talking about in terms of the acquisition. We're talking about 8 parcels, and from this page you can see there's it's after page. Oh, there's multiple color pages. So page 48 goes into some. After page 48, there's several exhibits that aren't numbered, but this is exhibit in your package. If you can't read it real well on the screen, but parcels A through H are what is part of this purchase price. But we wanted to include kind of the whole hill so people understood what else was happening. So Ventura County owns 3 parcels, I, J, and K on the exhibit, and that's the fire station basically down on Hillcrest. And then Mr. Hunter, who just spoke, is actually representing the owner of the private land, that 3.37 acres L on this exhibit. So if you're looking at the ownership and acreage, the land use designation does matter. When the city did its update on the general plan, that's really when we first started to sort of recognize that when our lease expired in 2027 and we had to decide whether we were going to, we didn't know, are we going to re-up the term? What's the city's intent with the property? Were we going to try to negotiate and stay in a lease? Were we going to, just go find another building somewhere else for where we're at? All reasonable options. But once we understood that the general plan update would include, mixed use housing in opportunity areas, and it went through a very extensive public input process. And I think that the wisdom landed in appropriate locations for our community. But that includes the Oaks and the Jants marketplace. And so by the introduction of housing into areas that we had not initially planned for housing, our master plan kicks in and says, wait a second, we're supposed to have parks located a reasonable distance from residents. And with new residents being introduced into an area we didn't expect, we're like, we kind of have to figure out a way to have a park near these future residents. So if you can imagine, reasonable to imagine a couple thousand apartment units in this area in the future. And again, we are planning for the future, right? We're trying to be ahead of this. You can imagine they will need park space for all those new apartments. And to the extent the developers and us work together, and there are still Quimby fees to be had, we can use those to, make improvements onto this property and kind of make it great for not only the people that live here, but the people that come after. And again, this is just an exhibit that really highlights the opportunity areas where the potential housing might be and where this property sits between them. So let's get into, we're not going to be there yet. We'll stay there for now. So let's get into kind of why. Why are we doing this? So again, we're already here. We've been here since 2002 on a lease. It expires in 2027. And, there is a cost and hassle factor and loss of productivity involved in trying to, relocate and move an office building. So we're already here with both the offices and Hillcrest Center for the Arts. A lot of people do already use the property for park-like use. I can't tell you how many people, working up here all day long, how many people just use that hill of a driveway to kind of get a little bit of exercise in and do some laps and then enjoy the view, which is spectacular from up here. And so we do get a lot of like recreational or exercising walkers and whatnot. And you'll see from some of these other pictures coming up, the property is iconic. It's culturally significant, historically significant. It's got spectacular views. People know what Fireworks Hill is, right? We've asked people on July 4th to stare at the hill year after year for 50 years. So people know Fireworks Hill. And again, what I alluded to earlier, the main thing is we need additional parkland in this zone. So when I talk about zones, I'm using planner speak, and without really understanding how we view the world in a planning sense, I put this exhibit up. This is an exhibit in your packet as well. It's what we call our planning zone D. And you can see the 101 running across and the 23 going up. And the part we're in is planning area 13 of zone D. And we are actually deficient in parkland in that zone, believe it or not. Lynn Ranch has 0 parks. We have Conejo Community in that area and a bit of Page Lane Park and looks like the park by Nellie, right? Glenwood. So you'll notice 500 Teal Boulevard eventually will be a park in this zone or this planning area. So you can look at the numbers, but essentially we do have a need today for parkland, but in also planning for the future, it's not a bad idea to get ahead of it and get some extra parkland now. So wanted to kind of give you a perspective on how much buildings the district in its entirety already own and manage and what this increase will look like. So when it comes to what CRPD owns and manages, because the city, remember, has been a great partner and we're a tenant in the teen center and the Global Center and had been in this building. So when you look at that, these are the numbers of CRPD managed park. So we're currently at 155,000 square feet of buildings around the whole entire community. And once we acquire this property, we'll add 55,000 more square feet, basically being a huge 35% increase in the amount of indoor building space we have. And I do that now we do talk about additional operating costs once we acquire it. That operating cost in part will be the staff necessary to maintain kind of this new square footage. This you can't read, I know, but we do have a handout in front of you, and it's kind of a late addition to the packet. But that one table was just the buildings that we own, the structures and buildings we currently own, and what this would mean to the addition of it. This handout is all of the parks that we currently own, parks and properties for the urban parks and properties. It has nothing to do with Costco open space or open land. This is the CRPD urban parkland. And so at the very bottom, the last line is this new potential addition if the CRPD board approves it. So it just is a way for you to look at what this addition looks like in comparison to our entire portfolio of parks. This will be our 61st facility. And actually by acreage, it is going to be our 3rd largest, which is kind of mind-boggling that it is. by acres. So that's pretty cool. And yeah, you can look down there at that last line. There pops out right there. So 61 acres added to the system. So here's, now I have a few beauty shots as I kind of go through the meat of the presentation. You know, one of the things to think about is if this doesn't go forward, we still will need a home. We do have a year and a half left on our license agreement with the city, lease agreement. So should this not move forward, or, you know, something happens to the transaction for some reason, we will still need to find a home at some point. So we don't want to, you know, necessarily be having to do that. It's very, virtually impossible for us to construct something in a year and a half, given, you know, we have no plans for anything anywhere. So there's just, it's totally infeasible for us to build something ourselves. So we would be out in the marketplace shopping for a building to move into. But we're hoping this will go forward, and some of the salient points of the purchase and sale agreement, it's a lot of legalese, and I do appreciate our attorney, Carl Berger, is here, and they did a great job putting it together. I don't mean to discount the legalese. It's very necessary, but it ultimately is pretty simple. It's you know, we had it appraised, the city had it appraised, we had some overlap in our numbers. It actually made our conversations with the city manager's office, and Akbar is here from the city, Akbar Ali Khan, the assistant city manager. It made our conversation, you know, pretty easy. We had common ground right out of the gate. The purchase price ended up being 30.4 million. There's going to be 100,000 applied as a kind of a down payment applied towards the purchase price. The city's already taking steps to do conditions precedent to closing. They have to approve. The city and Park District have to approve the development agreement, and we need confirmation back from Housing, Department of Housing, that this transaction complies with the Surplus Lands Act. And then we have 180 days to close. So, you know, sometime in July, by July. And then this is really important, and I actually appreciate the city asking for this. I sort of think it might have been Jamie that chimed in right away with this idea, was that we basically were afraid if we are planning, we're prepared, we don't expect any issues to you know, occur for our ability to pay for a loan once we take it out. But in the unlikely event we had to generate cash and sell some or all of the property, we wanted the ability to do that. And Jamie right away said, well, we don't necessarily want that. So they want to write a first refusal in there at a fairly appraised amount. So there's a lot of comfort that there's an intent for this to remain in public hands. So the development agreement, and I'll kind of click through, there's our property. I'll take a little, before I get into the development agreement. So there's Hillcrest, the hill, and you can see how low on the hill Hillcrest Center really is, actually off to the, I guess, left of the oval there. That's where the very low slung Hillcrest Center 401 and 403 is in relation to Fireworks Hill. Just to orient you on the property, you know, there's the Oaks Mall in the foreground there. The golf course is there. The freeway just disappears, which is great in terms of this shot. But that's the Oaks, and there's the Jantz Mall. So we did this slide to kind of orient you to how close those two properties are to the Fireworks Hill. There's Tarantula Hill for those interested. And that's actually the Conejo Botanic Garden, the hillside in Conejo Botanic Garden. So to give you a sense of what's where. There's the beauty shot of the property. Another shot of Fireworks Hill with Tarantula Hill off to the left. So the development agreement is also pretty simple. It locks in specific plan 17 as it exists. The top, you know, half of the property, the hill, essentially is already Parks Golf Course and open space. The lower half of the hill, the other 30 acres, are essentially different types of development. So there's in the general plan, it's commercial town, I think, and mixed use. But really the zoning control is the specific plan, and the specific plan is in your packet. The whole thing laid out. And I don't think that's actually page numbered either, but it's Exhibit C in your packet, and it's also online for those following along at home. But that lays out in more detail all the variety of uses that can occur on the property. Right now, there are no plans for any, development. The right we retain because we want to retain the value of the land should we need it. And I think at the city council said, if we're in a pickle and have to sell the farm, this is the first farm that gets sold, that kind of thing. So that's the development agreement. And by the way, it's a 30-year term to match the potential for borrowing if whatever our borrowing term looks like. So safety net measures, and this I'm bringing up only because I know we have a very fiscally responsible and conservative board, and they want to make sure we're not overextending ourselves and that this is something we can afford, because it is a significant purchase. This is from the backside of the hill, St. Charles, I think, and it's kind of a cool so those of you who are interested in getting to the top of Fireworks Hill to check it out, you can. It's a dirt road. It's kind of like any Costco trail. I actually went up there. There's tons of people already using it to walk, and I'm sure have been for years. Anyway, so the financial safety net. So we have been very good about budgeting, and in general, we'll have a $2 to $3 million budget surplus every year we operate. And as the board knows, we've taken that to build the reserves that we have to use this purchase, right? So we built reserves in order to do capital funding. So we have that, but what we also have is that we have finally reached over 100% funding in our pension liability reserves. So what that means is the approximately $1 million a year that was going to fund those reserves, we now have free. We don't have to spend that anymore. So we've reached a really good spot there. So if you think about it, we have about a $3 million cushion as we go into this. What did I want to say? Oh, the other potential opportunities that are coming down. I call them potential opportunities because, everyone has plans and plans can go awry, but there are plans for, future big projects in the community, big apartment projects. Amgen announcing its huge investment, $600 million. Just as a reminder, the Park District is funded by property taxes. And so when big giant projects like that go forward and an assessed valuation goes from, say, $10 million for a piece of property to $400 million for a piece of property, we get the 6% of the 1% on tax. So there's with the, the growth in development in the future, we should expect a little bit more property tax revenue to come in. On top of that, if that future development happens to be residential, we have those park development fees associated with new construction. So whether it's actual land that gets dedicated near the project or they pay a fee in lieu of the land dedication, which is actually becoming more common than the land dedication itself, we're able to use those fees for, park improvements and capital improvements that benefit those projects. And then the final safety net again is the development agreement. By having that locked in and the land use locked in, we've sort of locked in a land value that in a need or emergency, we have the ability to sell the land to raise capital. So in the future, I think you might be wondering, what is the plan? So the near-term plan is continue to occupy this space that we're in this 403 building. The new building that we would acquire next door is about 21,000 square feet compared to this 34,000 square feet building. So it's a little smaller than this building. But we basically have been working with staff in the various recreation units, all who have various space needs and demands, Conejo community is front in mind because that is a project that might get delayed from what we were hoping to do in terms of building a new building there. And they had some immediate pressing, demands. Therapeutics has always needed a little more space. Our sports office here is a little cramped. So there could be some reshuffling of some of the units that we currently have into already basically move-in ready office space. All we really need to do to get into that building next door is do the HVAC. There might be other things we want to do, but need to do would be the HVAC system. And after that, it's kind of like more of an aesthetic look and what do we need to do to kind of occupy the building. So the National Park Service left it in pretty good shape. The city maintained it pretty well. So there's a lot of office space and there's some larger room space, I'd say comparable to the size of this room and with spectacular views out the windows. So whether that becomes, yoga and kind of exercise spaces over and like during the day, and then maybe community rental spaces at night, that kind of stuff. We'll have to look into exactly what we're going to do there, but that process is already started and there's meetings amongst recs. We of course want to know exactly what, the board's interests are and the community's interests and all that kind of stuff. So we already know that we have interest in various parts of the building next door. So we're looking forward to spending the next up to 180 days while we're waiting for escrow to close, like in a planning process, getting ready to move in when it's time. And we'll be back talking to you all sorts of or times before then. I guess finally it's like, how do we get this loan? We will retain a financial advisor. They're a fiduciary to us, and their job is to find the right terms and cheap money, most reasonable priced money in order to get that loan. So we will be bringing those decisions, who do we choose as the financial advisor? And then the financial advisor will help us on are we getting a traditional bank loan? Are we going and doing like sort of a lease back with a certificate of participation and kind of doing something that looks a lot like a bond? Nothing would require a vote. Nothing requires new taxes. It's just how are we going to get the money? And we'll be bringing professionals that do this for a living back in front of you as we move forward. That's a lot. I, of course, will be available for questions, but before I conclude, I do want to specifically directly thank the staff, those folks there that have been with me through this whole thing very closely. From the very beginning, which was whether even this is a good idea, like, should we do this? Is this even a good idea? Our legal counsel at Burke, Williams and Sorensen, Carl Berger's here, and he had an assist from Neil Yeager. In closed session and and in conversations, open session, we've had so many meetings. The CRPD board has been frankly the leader and out front and expressing to me like, dude, this is important, like make this happen. And I appreciate you for that, because not to give away anything in closed session, but I was a little bit like, are you guys sure? You're like, yes, we are sure. And I so appreciate you guys for that, getting this. And thanks to the city, especially the Planning Commission on Monday, their recommendation for approval of the DA, the city council, I can't say enough how important our partnership is for the success in so many things we do, but this represents to me another one of the big things that we do together. And I do want to say, when we hand them the money, the 30 million, I do that without any hesitation or reservation, knowing in their downtown core master plan, their park and plaza amenities that they've got designed in there are spectacular and will cost quite a bit of money. And if our money is going to stuff like that for the public, I think it's fantastic. But the staff there, Akbar in particular as the lead, Jamie, the finance director, and then of course Drew, the city manager, and Tracy, city attorney, working with all of them has been fantastic. Mayor Newman from last year, now just regular old city council, Mayor Newman that's here. The city council has been gracious as well, and we appreciate you guys entertaining even the idea. And I save for last, I think the most important, which are those residents who are interested and engaged and let us know this matters to them. And, that really matters. So we super appreciate those people that care. There's people that don't come here tonight, but you know, the folks that are dropping their kids off for programs and stuff, like when they find out this is going to be a thing, they're pretty excited. So that was a lot. I hope it wasn't too much, but this is the biggest thing I've ever worked on. Money wise, that will probably not even be noticed by the community because nothing's changing. So here you go. I'm available for any questions.
Okay, I think, why don't we start with Director Huffer and then we'll just go down the. Okay, go ahead, Director Bus.
And again, we're going to have public probably comment too. So this isn't like the final, right? There's going to be public input.
I have a lot of questions about the purchase agreement, so I can go over that afterwards, or when would you like to go through that?
You can go. And I might even call Carl up here if they're going to be legal.
Okay, so this is what I do for a living. So I just read through the contract, and one of my concerns is I don't see a loan or appraisal contingency. We have one contingency, which is a 30-day physical inspection contingency. It will take longer than that to get loan approval. That loan will require an appraisal, and if that appraisal comes in below 30 million, without an appraisal contingency, we have no right to renegotiate. So I'm a little concerned I don't see those two contingencies in here, because the $100,000 deposit, although is not even near what you should have for an earnest deposit, which is fine, and that's very gracious of the city to allow us to have such a low earnest deposit, it is non-refundable after the 30 days. So these are just simple contingencies that are in pretty much every purchase sale agreement. So those two I'd like to know. I would like to know what type of inspections will be done during the 30-day inspection period, because as this is a as-is sale, that's going to be really important, because I know we know some things that need to be done over there, but have we really had a thorough general contractors over there? All of those things. This is just standard, like what we do. So that I'm concerned about. I think that there should be a committee to review the loans.
The board will have to vote on anything we do with the money. We'll probably be back to you 3 or 4 times with the money.
Right. So the financial advisor or the loan broker who
Right.
goes through this for you should be giving you a matrix. So usually there's going to be they're going to send it out to probably 30 banks. You're probably going to get back 10 different scenarios. And so there'll be a matrix, and there's going to be a lot of different fees and a lot of different intricacies with the loans. So that's really important. I did over $30 million in loans myself last year. So it's really important, and they all are different.
So
They're
we do
so
have a
different.
property acquisition committee, which
Perfect.
you're on, right?
Perfect. So I just think
I think you're on. I just want to make sure.
I think we should meet to review the loans before we even, because you're going to probably pick it down to 2 or 3 that maybe you present to the whole board. But I think that that's a really good thing, because they're just so much different than doing your normal residential. It's just, there's all these little fees and different things that they put in there, and prepaid fees and all of that. And then my other question on the city's first right to refusal, how is the SP 17 value decided?
Remember, we have an appraisal.
But will you be doing a new appraisal at the time in which, if we had to sell, or is it going to be based on this appraisal that we're at now? Because if
No, like you're saying 10 years,
Yeah.
go down, and my understanding and belief under the agreement would be that we would do another appraisal, but it
Okay.
would be appraised at the land uses authorized in SP 17. So
Okay,
maybe
perfect.
it gets more expensive, maybe it gets less, maybe it stays the same. We don't know.
Yeah, I just think it's important that that be written into it, so that way it's not that it's based on the appraisals that we both did now, that it will be at the appraisal, a new appraisal will be done at that time, should that arise.
Yeah,
So,
and they have
But
the
it
right.
should be in writing, because if it's not in writing in real estate, it's not in writing.
Right.
So
It's
that
in
should
there.
be
It's in
designated.
there. I remember reading that section.
Well,
It's in there.
I just read through it while you were speaking, and that's why I'm asking it.
Yeah.
Because it does say that it is going to be on the SB 17 value, but it doesn't say based on appraisal at
the
that
then-
time.
at
It
the
just
then
says,
time.
and that's where I just want clarification on that. Yeah, so, and then a question on, so you sell it back to them, but then is the city then able to sell it off to the public?
So remember, right of first refusal, if for whatever reason we felt it was worth way more than the city tells us they think it's worth, they can refuse. And they go, no, you want way too much money. We're not buying it for that. And then we could go on the open market.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah.
So
So
that's
we
good to know.
can still get what we want for
Yeah.
the property. It's just we have to go, hey, city, this is we're offering it to you
Right,
at the
which
then appraisal.
I like, I mean.
Yeah. And then
yeah.
after that, if we didn't like the number, we could think, well, we'll get more on the private
Yeah.
market.
Yeah, I don't, yeah. But yeah, so those are just a couple things that I just think that I would like to see a loan and an appraisal contingency because 30 days is not enough time. In 180-day escrow, we really need to have some sort of contingencies for both of those. Because no bank is going to use our appraisals. They are going to do a third-party appraisal. So it's very subjective. And what if it comes in a couple million lower? Well, then we're coming out of pocket a couple million more. We have no right to renegotiate based on this contract if that appraisal does not come in. Now, if the appraisal comes in over, just like an idiot, they can't go and say, okay, well, now you're going to pay us more. That's not how it works. Appraisals come in over all the time. But so those are the two things I think. And I know that we will get a loan. I'm not worried about like financial, like all of that, but it's just, you also don't want to be forced into getting a loan. What if the market's in a whole different place and then you have interest rates and it's just, we want to make sure that we're doing something that we feel comfortable with too, taking on for a long period of time. So those are just a couple of things that I saw. I don't know. I don't know if this is the final purchase agreement.
This is supposed to be it.
Yeah, I would personally would not, nope, I would not sign off on this. You got to have, you cannot have a 30-day contingency. You can't even get all your inspections and your bids back for the whole property in 30 days. Not this big.
So we've already done a lot of inspections and looking. We've got a structural, we've been in the building for 22 years. We're pretty familiar with the building. We've been meeting with city staff who manage and maintain their building maintenance people that take care of the building. So we have a very good cordial working. We know which, the little weird things in the building, that kind of thing. So I don't actually know what additional information we would.
Well, that's why I was just asking,
get.
what inspections are you planning on doing? So you're not planning on doing any further inspections then in the 30 days?
Right now, I'm not aware of anything else we would be doing. We've gone through, we've taken our building maintenance professional and they have gone through that building, this building. We've gone through it with the city staff. We're pretty comfortable. We understand what's here. We know we have to do the HVAC next door. We know it's going to cost about $400,000. And because that one went out, we're pretty sure this one's going to go soon as well. So, we think to move, to occupy and liven up both buildings, we probably will need about $1 million. We know that.
Yeah, so I'll let you know when I'm purchasing a building and I have my investors that I have to answer to, I can't even get an appraisal done in 30 days. A commercial appraisal does not, so you don't have enough time in this to protect, and if we're just saying, okay, 100 grand's 100 grand, we don't care about that if we lose it, but I'm just saying you don't have enough time to have these things reviewed. You're 30 days, she's not even going to get loan matrix back.
So
it takes time for them to shop it.
So would you recommend 90 days or?
Yes, at least.
And if we said 90 days and change the.
And you can have the 30-day physical, that's fine. I mean, that's when most people fall out, but you need time to get an appraisal and and then your loan contingency.
Right. Yeah, I mean, so, we didn't bring our financial advisor. Public sector financing is a little different than private from that perspective. And, I don't know that the appraisal experience you have in private sector financing applies directly to public sector. I'm not an expert, but we didn't bring our expert here in public finance.
So you're saying that they are not going to do an appraisal for a loan?
I can tell you from our experience in closing the MRCA line of credit that no, we did not need to do an updated appraisal on the property we used to secure it.
But that's a line of credit.
No, I know, but that was I'm just saying it's a different structure.
How big was the line of credit?
10 million. And this would be 15.
And so they used an appraisal you already had?
Yes.
Have you confirmed that that they will use one of your guys' appraisals?
We're going to use, yeah.
So you don't have a financial advisor?
No, we currently have an RFP out for the advisor, and then we come back to you all and tell us who we're using, and then that whole process starts.
Yeah, you don't have enough time built in for all of that. It's going to take time for you even to get the RFPs for who you're going to use for the financial advisor. Then that person then has to go out and shop it to the banks.
Yeah, not to.
You just
not
don't
to-
have
not
enough
to-
time.
not-
So-
you are definitely a more
I'm just saying that's not.
informed real estate professional than I am. We were on a phone with a financial advisor today.
Yeah.
We've already started talking to some of them, and they were very comfortable with the 180-day time line.
Oh, 180 days is fine. I don't have a problem with the close of
Right.
escrow. No problem at all with that. I think that you can close on that, no problem.
Right.
I just don't feel comfortable. And that's what the board, I guess, will have to decide is if 100 grand, you lose 100 grand because it doesn't work out, fine. But in a normal purchase and sale agreement, and Carl, you have done several of these, you normally have contingencies for loan and appraisal, and you normally have longer than 30 days to get those contingencies approved so that you can feel comfortable moving forward with a loan. Correct, Carl?
So, Madam Chair, members of the board, thanks for having me tonight. Always happy to be out here, and this was a great opportunity. Let me address the easier one. The investigations is up to the district.
Correct.
So it's at the district's discretion. To Jim's point, you've been here 20 years?
Yeah, 22 in the building.
22 years. So actually, the best person to know what's wrong with the building is standing here. So from a legal perspective, the risk of not investigating, since we already know what's wrong with the building, is pretty low. With regard to the financing, to Jim's point and Melissa's point, this is a public financing situation. It's not a private financing situation.
And how many have Melissa and Jim done? How many commercial or public loans have you done? I know, but I guess that's kind of my point is like, you haven't been through this before and you're not even going to put in simple timeframes that normal purchase agreements have to protect yourself.
Not to be argumentative, but we used a public sector real estate lawyer not Carl, it was someone in his firm to help draft this, and he was very comfortable with the terms.
I'll tell you, in my entire career, I've never actually seen a 30-day provision for financing for a public transaction. It's actually extremely easy for public entities that have adequate revenue to get financing. I've never seen it as an issue.
Okay, and I admit I've never done a public at all. I haven't, ever in any of my real estate, but I can tell you in all the private ones, there's always in there unless you're paying cash.
I totally agree, which is why I don't.
If you're paying cash, you don't need them. You just don't, but.
My entire practice is exclusively public entities. I've never done a private loan, so I can't speak to that. But I can tell you with regard to public financing, I've never seen a need for a 30-day contingency. It is, like I said, actually extremely easy as long as your credit rating is high for a public entity to be able to get money from the market.
Okay, well, that's good to know. And that's where my questions come from, because I have not seen this. And so that's where I'm like, this looks crazy to me, because in the private sector, you would not write it like this.
Yeah. And to Jim's point, I know enough about the deep dive into real estate transactions to have this conversation, but Neil Yeager, who's the actual expert with our firm, is the one that drafted this and negotiated it. I've known Neil for, I don't know how many years, 1,000 years, since last century, let's put it that way. So I have utmost confidence in his ability to make sure that the district's interests are protected.
Okay, that's good to know. Yeah, so that's just where I get a little like, I'm like, holy moly. But yeah, everything else looked fine. Yeah, I was just curious if we're doing more inspections. You say we're not. I think that, I guess maybe you're not going to end up with 10 different options for loans. Then it sounds like you end up with 2, or you guys don't know.
No, we don't know.
Okay.
The financial advisor we told today, he said there's maybe 30 banks in California that are very capable of public sector financing. He'll send it to all 30.
Yeah.
And then from that, he said you'll get 10 or 15, and you just start looking at what the different, like exactly what you said.
Yeah.
The different options and
you go through
what's and wherefore. So,
okay.
And again, we have a real property acquisition committee, which we can take stuff through before we come to full board. But our plan, the board will touch all this stuff. You guys will see everything.
Okay, sounds good.
Move it along.
Yeah, so those were my questions.
Okay, Director Huffer, do you have anything to add?
I'm relying on our real estate private sector expert to ask the questions, and if I read through all this, I sort of understood. They have I have no question.
Okay, Director Nichols.
Thank you. I do have a few questions. I believe you addressed this, but I just wanted to get it straightforward. Regarding the zoning issue, I know we've talked about the specific plan number 17 designations, and that the development agreement indicates that those designations will remain in effect for 30 years. However, I know the city is currently undergoing an assessment of zoning citywide and what can or can't be taking place in each of those zones. And I wanted to know how that will or won't affect these parcels.
So yeah, you can ask the city to respond, or do you want me to? My understanding of this is specific Plan 17 will control, and they aren't going to do zoning that would undermine what specific Plan 17 allows for. It is the zoning for 30 years.
Okay.
Unlike the deep dive in the purchase and sale agreement, this is directly in my wheelhouse. So thank you for asking this particular question.
Thanks for being here.
The development agreement law provides that development agreement is doing exactly what it's supposed to do, which is basically freezing in the zoning regulations at the time that it is executed. And it allows that all of those approvals and all of those regulations to remain in place, notwithstanding any other changes in the law for whatever the term of the DA is. So to answer your question, let's just say for the sake of discussion that the city decided to rezone this area into SB 45, whatever it might be. The SR 17 or the SP 17 designation will remain for purposes of the development agreement. So we would retain a copy of that somewhere.
Okay.
To make sure that those are the regulations that apply to this particular piece of property.
Okay. And would those development rights be passed on to future purchasers if there were such a case, that they would still inherit that 30-year time frame?
So in essence, it would be a legal non-conforming use if the zoning for whatever reason were to change. So to answer your question, yes, the subsequent purchaser at the time that, assuming that the city decided not to purchase the property based upon its right of first refusal, at that point, the subsequent purchaser would buy it with the SP 17 designation.
Okay.
And as long as whatever development, let's just say, I mean, now we're getting into bar exam questions, but let's assume that hypothetically speaking, that particular purchaser, which was a private purchaser, wanted to build out in accordance with that specific plan, then the specific plan as of 2026 would be the regulations that would apply to that particular development.
Okay. All right. Thank you. This question might be more addressed by Akbar if he's wearing his planning director hat tonight. Just curious if the city's RENA numbers and the sites that have been designed, designated to be sent up to California State for allocating the necessary units that you have the capacity for, whether it's the pipeline projects or potential site projects. Will any of these parcels be affected by that process, or is that kind of, those numbers stay the same, whether we own it or you own it or someone else owns it, or are they not even included in those RENA numbers?
I don't see that having any material effect on this transaction. As Carl mentioned a minute ago, your rights as it relates to this property would be preserved under the development agreement. In future RENA cycles, if we have to find additional units throughout our city, of course, we would need to identify what those are. One of the kind of the side benefits of SB 17 and preserving it for the next 30 years is that we do not have to contend with the state's no net loss provision. Absent that, we would have to find where do 400 units as designated in SB 17 go.
Okay.
So in that regard, the DA and SB 17 in concert do us a favor because we get to still point at the site as essentially a shell for those units as far as the state is concerned.
Oh, good. Okay. All right. Yeah, I was a little bit concerned about that, but thank you for that explanation. Okay, let's see. Regarding the Park District's use of current reserves, I think you hinted a little bit about this, but as far as the use of the 13.4 million, will that have any detrimental impact on anticipated expenditures of those reserves for projects, I say in the pipeline that we had underway? Or is this just some that might be in year X, as we call it, just kind of push them back a little bit? Is there anything that's going to have a negative impact?
So not to any specifically allocated funds to allocated projects. So if you remember a couple meetings ago, we did that reserve policy update and moved money from, I don't know, what do you have, 6 or 7 different reserve funds. And we scraped a little bit off of some of them and put them all in the capital, property acquisition capital ones so that we had the 13 million all there. And I think it's actually 15. We actually have 15 million in there. So we did that 2 meetings ago. So we moved money from several reserves into this one reserve. And that money had not been specifically allocated to anything by the board. That the property acquisition, the board had not already allocated to any specific project. I will tell you though, staff in planning and thinking about how are we going to do big things in the future had been thinking when future property acquisitions come up, that's the pot to go to. Or more pressing was the possibility of doing Conejo Community Center. And the board had not taken any action to say this money will be spent at Conejo Community, but staff knew in that pot, that is the kind of pot we would go to do a really big, hard thing, like build a new building at Conejo Community Center. So to the extent all this money goes to acquire this 21,000 square foot new building next door to us, plus this building we're in, probably not going to get to the Conejo Community Center building for the near future until and unless somebody donates $20 million for that building. If I had to say, yeah, if you're looking for like what's not going to happen, Conejo Community Center.
Okay, thank you. And I think from what you were talking about earlier is with some of the capacity now that this additional square footage provides, that you may consider repackaging what programs or what activities happen at other community centers. I presume maybe Conejo Community Center might be one of those where the anticipated expansion of that facility, whatever would have happened there, could maybe now happen here. And
Exactly.
And it's still within the same zone or area.
It's still in the same zone as the crow flies were a half a mile away as the crow flies or something. It's
Okay.
pretty close.
Okay, so we're in essence getting a facility. We're spending a lot of money, but we're not having to build one. And so
Correct.
we can revisit that in the future. Okay, thank you. And then, again, you just mentioned this a little bit, but in the report, it talks about trying to maintain typically about a $3 million annual budget capacity in reserves. We've been kind of saving along as we go. And with the anticipated expenses of increasing about $2 million a year, does that mean we'll have about $1 million a year that we'll be able to kind of tuck away in reserves, or is there more or less than that?
I think, yeah, you understand it. It's about right.
Okay.
That's exactly it.
Thank you. And then also, there's a reference to the park dedication Quimby fees that might be anticipated. Do you have any ballpark estimate of projects that are actually in the development pipeline through the city as to what, and I know there's a difference between getting approval and actually starting construction, but I'm just wondering, those that are in the pipeline, is there some estimate of what that might be?
So Andrew's going to be better. We actually have I don't know that we have the paper in here, but we actually have a piece of paper with all the like pending projects.
Correct. Yeah. So top of my head, we have about 13 million in Quimby fees, and this is district wide, not specifically in this zone, right? Which would be zone D. So we have about 13 million of Quimby fees that are actually entitled projects that could come in the door at any moment. We have another 13 million that are in process. So they're working with the city. We're aware of those projects happening. And then taking my thunder a little bit, we did get I was going to tell you guys in my park report, but we did get a $4.1 million Quimby check today. So there is development coming, and that's from the 2150 Hillcrest project, so the Amgen former visitor center.
Yes.
So it's just outside this zone, but still development's happening throughout the district, as well as we've been in discussions with the former Kmart site. So looking at that type of stuff, so developers are working on projects. But that's basically 13 million that have been entitled. That would be fee to us in today's dollars too. Note that, because we do have a 3% increase on multifamily housing, and then that other 13 that are just still kind of chipping away. They don't have entitlements yet, but they're working with city staff and figuring things out.
Okay.
So.
Okay. So I mean that presents a positive horizon.
Yeah, and to be clear too, neither of those are any of the Oaks or Jan's contemplated projects. So two of our closest neighbors that are the biggest property owners that could have the substantial amount of development, it's not included in those.
Right.
So there's still quite a bit out there, especially with the new mixed use zoning. So.
Yes, I know it's a very fluid environment. Yeah, I think most of the other questions I had were already addressed or asked. So I think I'm good for now. So thank you very much.
Director Orozco.
Yeah, I don't have any particular questions. Thank you.
Madam Chair,
Yes.
since I sort of deferred before, and since we do have Akbar here, I don't know if this is a question that can be answered, but one of the reasons for encouraging this project is that it would serve, I think it was 2,000 residents or 1,000 units at the Oaks Mall, and I don't recall the numbers, but it seems to me one was 2,000 and 1,000. But regardless of the actual numbers, off the top of your head, using a crystal ball, what are the chances that some or all of those projected residences at the Oaks Mall and Jan's Mall would actually happen, and then we would be serving those areas?
Thank you, Director Huffer. It is a tough question. Your crystal ball is as good as mine, but there are a couple data points that I think are worth mentioning. One, of course, I think we're all aware of is the Oaks Mall transacted last year, and so the new owners are working in earnest to develop at least minimally a site plan, but of course the city will require a specific plan before they embark on anything of significance. My best guess is if you're going to invest if you're going to invest money to acquire a site that large, you probably want to stay on a pathway to seek a return. And so, um, anyone's best guess is within a decade, I would expect we would see some modicum of housing units on that site. Probably not built out to its fullest potential in that short time frame, but certainly on its way there.
Okay, thank you for that answer.
Okay, thank you very much for your comments. And now we do have a speaker card. So, Mr. Maple.
My mess. Your way.
5 minutes, 3.
Try to keep it around there. Sure.
William Maple, I'm a resident here in Newbury Park. And just across the freeway, you can see this old city hall from my front yard. And for many years, I hand mowed my lawn. Long story, but moved here about 35 years ago. I wondered what those white strips were across the way. Came over and looked at it, and I was amazed at what I saw. Just unique. And 45 years I've developed history museums throughout the country, Park Service, Bureau of Land Management. Example is old Mission San Juan Capistrano, built in 1776. And what you can and can't do with a historic monument is very limited. And what's amazing with staff and the meetings and everything, it's like landmark is a 4-letter word or something. No one brings up that this is a landmark. And it's been that way for 30 years, 29 maybe. And there are things that you can and can't do. It does impact the appraisal. I was on the Cultural Heritage Board for the county. If you don't reveal that this is a landmark when you're selling the property, you're not disclosing everything. So there are limitations what you can and can't do. Some of that the city dictates because they are the Cultural Heritage Board, even though they don't meet publicly, which should have happened before that ever got to you today, because the public would have commented on what they thought was happening, whether it worked or not, or should be approved. That didn't happen. So I have 4 more minutes to go through that. But in coming over here, I realized what bad shape it was. And there's a thing called demolition by neglect. And so when a building's abandoned, if you don't want to sell it, you want to get rid of it, you leave it alone. You let it get vandalized. You don't put boards up or chain link fence around to protect it. And that's what happened here. Trees were ripped out, thrown through the window, bonfires, couches, beer, skateboarding off the old city council chambers. They built ramps. It was crazy. And I just started my own business. Didn't work out, so I ended up at the cable company producing videos. So I grabbed a video camera, did it 3/4, and presented it behind the city council and said, "This is what's going on." I was threatened with trespassing, glorifying graffiti, a bunch of things, but I was able to present the video. And they were out that morning cleaning this place up. Took 2 years of fighting City Hall to preserve Old City Hall, and they ended up making it a landmark. And the idea was this was a commodity to build a new, bigger government center downtown. And so 30 years later, we're in the same position where this commodity is being looked at as a way of funding what's over there. The odd part, unique part, is that Jant's family dedicated or gave this land for free for public use to build this center. And that they didn't charge, but they're charging you for that. And also, if CRPD paid for half the building, they should only charge you for half of these buildings. But that would be my argument in the appraisal value of it. And that if you're willing to, and I really would like you to make this happen tonight. I can't imagine a better entity and use for this building. The city sees it as a commodity. You watched everyone here tonight, 10, 20, 30 years working. This is their home. This is the home of the community. You can artificially build a downtown. It rarely works. It evolves. Things that don't work die off. This part of town has worked. I mean, Fireworks Hill for how many years has worked? you make this a park and rec that the people are, getting new residents down at the Oaks and wherever else, because we're building denser, they need the parks. And it's worked for 20 years, wonderfully managed by your staff and this board. And I want to just praise. I didn't know a lot about what you did here. I've just found out over the past year worrying about what was going to happen and what was, it's probably been 100 letters of the editor and presentations like this to the city council and you know planning boards and so forth saying please protect this building. And I met with the daughters of the architect, and this was his favorite building. It was 157 different architects competed. They filled the whole Thousand Oaks gym with competition boards, and this one was picked by a couple of renowned architects. This building, people called it the bunker, the eyebrows on the hill, but it won.
Thank you. Do we have any further comments before we vote on this? Does anyone else want to say anything? I'd quickly like to say that I am incredibly happy about this purchase. I feel that this isn't just a win for CRPD, in that we will now have our administrative offices here and we don't have to go and find some commercial offices. I feel that it is a win for the arts because we are saving the Hillcrest Center for the Arts. We're saving the art gallery in the hall. We are saving open space, open space for our community. And on top of that, we are saving a city landmark. And this is a new city. Thousand Oaks is a new city. We don't have a lot of landmarks. And the fact that we can save this building as a landmark, the fact that we are making this part of Thousand Oaks be a good use for our city. And I'm very grateful for the partnership that we are having with our city and that this is going through. And I would like to thank all of our staff and our attorney for working hard to make this work. And so hopefully in the next 180 days, we will not have any hiccups and this will go through if this is passed tonight. Madam Clerk, you do want something.
One more comment. Yeah.
Oh, okay. I asked.
Go for it. See, you kept refreshing my memory. Just with our city representatives here, I just wanted to reemphasize what our general manager was talking about, the partnership that we've enjoyed for many, many years. I think probably before most of us were even here when that started. And I've said this to our board a number of times, but I'm on our California Association of Rec and Park Districts and get to interact with our 70 plus districts from up and down the state. And every time I tell them about the relationship we have with our city, their jaws drop. They just cannot believe how well we work together. And there are some where there are cities trying to boot the district out and take over the district. So the working relationship is probably the tops in the state, I would say, from what I've incurred as far as working with the special districts in the park world. So with that, and just kind of with what General Manager Friedel was saying, with the kind of cementing, so to speak, that relationship in this process, just kind of reminds me of that. The other thing I was thinking of when Andrew Mooney was talking about 2150 West Hillcrest, that was the city hall when I was working for the city. And I just remember several years ago when we had a strategic plan conversation, I was saying, we need a permanent home for the park district. And I talked about the many park district offices we've had over the years. It's like a nomad operation. You're going from place to place. So to be able to have a permanent home, and not only that, but one of the first places that the park district called home, and being this location, seems only right. And so please extend my personal thanks to your colleagues. I know both of you have been participating, Akbar in particular, working with our staff. Thank you for the extra efforts that you've both put together to do this. I know you've done this, coinciding with the downtown master plan and 2045 and zoning. And I mean, you guys have just got plates spinning all over the place. So thank you for putting in the extra time for doing this. And we look forward to making this a long-term home. Thank you.
Thank you. Do we have any other comments? Yes, Director Huffer.
Yeah, I did not want it to sound like I don't care about all of these documents. It's the details of the agreements that, yes, I read through them. No, I don't completely understand them, but I trust the experts at the city, the experts here at the Park District, that they are looking out for our best interests, and they're not proposing an agreement that is completely out of line with reality in the public sector. Because they're undoubtedly, I know I've been with the district for a while, and I'm still trying to figure out some of the accounting differences between the private sector, which I'm very familiar with, and the public sector. So there are definite differences, but I'm counting on the experts in this public sector financing to make sure that we're doing this all properly. That said, the concepts, as Doug said, that we will have a permanent home, because I know this has been some source of anxiety for people as we're getting closer and closer to the 2027 expiration of the lease. Where are we going to go? How are we going to support all of our programs? How are we going to have space for what we have today for the Hillcrest Center for the Arts, which is a really special place that I think would be very difficult to replicate anyplace else in the city without spending millions and millions and millions of dollars. This is going to be something that it's not just for the Park District, but it's for our community. The people come up here, whether it's to drop their kids off for rehearsals at the theater, whether it's to quick run in, register for a class, or put in an application for one of the picnic areas or whatever it might be. Our community has gotten very accustomed to using this facility, and the fact that they will be able to continue to do that for years and decades is really important. So yes, I am relying on the experts for some of the details of this, but the concepts that we're talking about, the fact that we do have the reserves to make this possible and still have sufficient financial reserves for everything else we have going on, it is a shame that we will have to at least defer for a while Conejo Community Center. But since this area will be serving some of the same population as Conejo Community Center, the space that's available in 401 very likely can be used somewhere down the line for some of the programming that might have gone into an expanded Conejo Community Center years down the line, because that would have taken a long time, demolishing a building and putting up a new building, much faster for us to be able to use an existing facility with some improvements. So I'm really excited about the prospect of passing the various recommendations here. And I also want to thank the people at the city and thank our staff for everything that's gone on to this. And it's been fun to watch Jim. He's like a kid at Christmas, got a new bicycle that he wasn't expecting. So those are my comments.
Okay, Director Buss.
Really quick. So, one of the benefits of being in this industry is that my friend and loan advisor who funds over $2 billion, he just told me, yes, they do. He's doing Rancho, Ontario right now, $80 million loan, and does a tax exempt bond. Because I'm like, I am sitting in a meeting. This is freaking me out. And he's like, yeah, you would never do that in the private sector. He's like, but they can do it because he's like, they don't even really get traditional loans. He's like, sometimes, but it's better to do. And so he was saying that. And I was like, thank you. So I learned something this evening. I appreciate it because, yeah, I agree. We do rely on you guys as the experts because we're not. We're here representing the constituents, right? So I do appreciate, but, and I am really excited because I live right here in Lynn Ranch. And I can tell you the idea of having more housing here on top of having the Jan's Mall and the mall, I just think that those communities and those developers too, to have this open space right here is huge. I mean, I just think it really serves our community better to have this being open space rather than a bunch of little tiny condos or apartment buildings, really, because most developers don't want to build condos right now. So I am very excited about this and I really look forward to the future of it. So thank you for teaching me today.
Director
Appreciate it.
Orozco, I really think you need to say something.
Oh, yes, absolutely. Thank you. I appreciate that. I was going to ask. Thank you, Chair. Yeah, I just really want to echo the sentiments of gratitude to both CRPD staff and staff over at the city. This has been a really wonderful project to watch go from like conception to where we are today. When we talk about planting seeds for future generations, this is exactly what we mean, and we're providing a home for CRPD, and we're planning for an expansion of services, which is really exciting to me. So thank you again to CRPD staff for walking the board and myself through this every step of the way. It's been a delight. So I'm very excited, just like my colleagues.
I'd like to make a motion
Please make a motion.
regarding the acquisition of 401, 403 West Hillcrest, also known as Fireworks Hill. I'd like to recommend approval of staff recommendation. I'm not going to read all 6 items, but I will summarize. To approve the purchase and sale agreement, number 1. Number 2, authorize the general manager to execute all documents necessary. Number 3, authorize a budget appropriation of $15.4 million for the initial payment. Number 4, authorize the general manager to negotiate and execute a loan agreement. Number 5, authorize the general manager to expend up to $200,000 in costs associated with obtaining debt financing. And number 6, find that the following actions are exempt from CEQA pursuant to section 15061B3.
And do we have a second? Okay.
I hate to use the term as the senior member of the board, but as the longest term member of the board, I would very enthusiastically like to second that motion.
Very good. All in favor?
Aye.
Matt, motion passes. Thank you very much. Yes. Obviously, there is a lot of enthusiasm in our district for this. Okay, so we're moving on to 9B. And thank you for all of you that came out. Thank you, our city members and attorneys and all righty. So, do I need to ask our Madam Person to read this?
Yes.
Okay.
Keep her awake.
Madam Clerk of the Board, would you please read the subject of 9B?
Yes, of course. Item 9B, confirmation of board appointments and assignments.
All right, so Mr. Friedel, would you like to talk about this?
Sure. Thank you, Chair Cussworth and members of the board. On page 75 in your packet, we have what we do every year around this time, shortly after either an election or just the every other year reorg. Confirm, modify, and delete the committee assignments as appropriate. We don't have any new board members from last year, so there's really no personnel that needs to change because of you guys changing. So I am proposing basically the status quo, which with the notation of deleting the ad hoc Rancho Potrero Equestrian Center Committee because it is ad hoc. They are supposed to be limited scope and purpose, and we really don't see us having any kind of near-term need to meet specifically about Rancho Potrero. So I would recommend we get rid of that as an ad hoc committee. And then because the board is doing a new general manager review process, that we would in now and in the future have the whoever's sitting chair and vice chair be the committee for the general manager review. Those are the 2 main changes. There's some other not as substantial changes that you can see there as well.
Are there any questions?
Well, there's probably one other change that needs to be done since my term expired on Casca as of December 1st last year, that probably needs to be, I'm happy to serve another 4 years. 4 more years, yeah. At the pleasure of the board. But I would like to do something other than expiring December 1st last year.
Is there any discussion on that? Can we just make that change?
Yeah, yeah, you could say,
Okay.
and Chuck would be our Costco
Okay,
rep for the
so
next
we'll
board.
add that at that. He's going to extend being a Costco rep for 4 years. Is there anything else?
I am curious if Director Buss would be interested in either swapping or switching out the Conejo Coalition for Youth and Families. I know this was a point of discussion last year.
Oh, okay, okay.
You can say no, like, just wanted to ask.
Are you gonna give up anything else? I mean,
I'm-
you just want me to give that up?
Whatever you are interested in. I mean, we're both on the Property Acquisitions Committee. Let me see, what else am I on?
Finance and audit.
Yeah, there's the Finance and Audit Committee, if you're interested in that.
I like the Finance and Audit Committee.
Yeah,
I like Melissa and her spreadsheets.
okay.
I'm not gonna lie, I have like 3 cups of that
Well,
people
you
keep
were on-
giving me.
you were on
I was on it before, and then I gave it to Ashley. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I'll do that. It'll. Sorry, Rochelle. You're gonna miss me. But yeah, that's fine.
Okay, so we are going to switch.
We're gonna
We're
switch
going
those
to
two.
take Director Orozco off of the Finance Committee and put Director Buss on that, and then the Family Committee, we're going to be putting Director Orozco on. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. All righty. Anything else? Okay, then, are we gonna make a motion on this?
I'll make
So
a
we'll-
motion.
So we're, for the recommendation, yeah,
Okay.
go ahead. Sorry,
Okay.
I didn't mean to interrupt you. Go
I was
ahead.
like, was I making it wrong?
Yes,
Yeah,
no,
I
you're
will
doing
make a recommendation that we move forward with the modifications to the committee assignments.
And a second on that?
I'll second that.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, motion passes. So, we're on to number 10, our reports and announcements. Are there any questions or comments on any of our reports or announcements? Anyone have anything they want to say? No? Okay, then moving on to our department reports, Parks Division.
Thank you, Chair Cusworth, members of the board. Shared with you the large Quimby fee that came in. Parks are in good shape. We've got a lot of rain through the, lot of rain. I know I sent out the water report early this week. Wait till next month. We're gonna have even better numbers next month is my hunch, just because of all the late rain in December. But we did have a lot of rain. Parks were dried out. We had obviously a lot of fields closed for a while. Our crews did a great job. We did have quite a bit of cleanup just with the substantial amount of wind and the rains. No significant losses. We did have some large limbs and some trees that had to be reviewed and such. But yeah, all in all, nice little break from the rain heading into our traditional rainy season of, February and March. We'll see kind of what comes, but we're in a pretty good spot to save some money on our water bill but still keep the parks operational and usable. So with that, I'm available for questions.
Do we have any questions? Director Hopper?
Yeah, just to confirm, Andrew, at this point, all of these larger parks, we do have the smart controllers so that when we get the rain, they're automatically shutting the systems down.
Correct. Yeah. So we can remotely, I think we're at 100% of all of our park facilities. We do have a couple valves here and there because they're more remote. But all of our major parks definitely. So we can remotely, like our guys don't even need to be in town. They can log in on their phone and turn it off if the weather changes overnight type of thing. So.
Okay, because I had an acquaintance who just sort of in passing said, well, all that rain, and I drove by and he didn't even identify what field he was talking about. He said the sprinklers were running. I said, well, what field? He just Anyway,
Sure.
I just
And
want to
we
make sure
typically
that
do
those
a-
are, we do have that kind of control.
Yep, we typically do a full rain off when we do have a strong chance of rain in the forecast well before that. So that might just be a bad wire or something like that. So.
Yeah. And I would have to go back in my records, but I suspect that probably ranks among the longer, if not longest, periods where the soccer fields were shut down for consecutive days due to weather. So we had some very happy kids last Saturday that finally got to get out in the field. So thank you for making sure they got opened.
Director Nichols.
Yes. Director Moody, could you remind me how the Quimby funds are put in buckets? You know, when depending on the location and the area zone that it's in.
Sure.
You know, as to if it needs to go to a specific area or to district-wide uses.
Sure. So we have 6 planning zones. Typically, Quimby and park dedication fees will be designated to that zone. However, if we have district-wide use, that fee is shared possibly with something outside of its zone, but maybe like a district-wide use. So we would be able to use it for like a district-wide facility, like a playground, or even like Orchard Community Park has a skate park. Well, we only got one skate park, so it's a community park in that zone, but it's a district-wide use, so we could technically utilize that, and that's more kind of accounting practice and like from a fair perspective. If it's one of 6 zones, it would possibly be only 1/6 that fee, right? But we try to isolate and per the act, right? Per the Quimby Act, as well as how our operations have been, and with working with the city with the municipal code, we try to spend the money in that planning zone typically, but there are certain cases where we may be able to move funds around. So, and then just I'm pulling at strings based on what you're saying. There are quite a bit in Zone D. There are quite a bit of projects looking to provide Quimby fees. So as far as the approval that the board did tonight, there may be opportunities, hopefully as development happens in town, that it would be happening in this zone. So it's like a straight correlation depending on how we want to take care of accounting. Obviously, it's the one time I get to pay Melissa and her staff. So it's kind of a pretty fun day. And so it's here you go. I'm not just spending money. So, but then it's the factor of, make sure we're making consistent accounting decisions, but then also looking to the act of making sure we're spending it where we should.
Okay. So, all right. Thank you. Thank you.
Any other questions? Okay, Recreation Division.
Thank you, Chair Cussworth and members of the board. I am looking very excited to talk to all my staff about what we're going to do next door now. So we'll be very, very busy. But in your packet or in your folder, you have the 2025 annual impact report. So that is in there for you guys to look over. And then just wanted to let you know that our department has hired our administrative assistant, and he started on last Monday. And his name is Tristan Humes. He's actually a trained culinary chef. I wanted to make sure my meetings were very good, but no, he also worked at the city of Simi, so we kind of got him from over there. So we're super excited, and he stayed and he showed up to work this week after last week, so I think we're on a good roll. With that, I'm available for questions.
Do we have any questions? Moving on to Management Services.
Thank you, Chair Cussworth and board members. So I get to do a whole bunch of stuff now. So thanks for that. I did want to give you an update. I already have an RFP out for a municipal advisor. We had 3 basically really highly recommended folks, people I've worked with before, people Carl worked with before, and the CSDA financial representative that works with their CSDA Financing Corporation. So I've been talking to all 3. They're all 3 going to give us proposals for their services, and then we'll be talking to you all about how that goes. And so very exciting for that. In your folder, you've got this lovely document. You can fold it. You can do whatever you want. Hopefully it catches your attention because it's all the rules that apply to our budget. Just a reminder that we do a 2-year budget. We're in year 2 of that cycle.
Even though we're in year 2 of the cycle, we still need to meet certain standards, which means we have to publish the notices in the newspaper and have public hearings. So these are all the dates that are going to have those public hearings for that. And then I want to call your attention to May 7th and May 21st. So that is when we are planning on talking about how we're going to incorporate the operational expenses of this hill and then any capital needs that we have for it as well at the 21st. And so those are going to be 2 pretty meaty meetings between me and Andrew, explaining all the money. And then the last thing I wanted to let you know is that Mark worked very hard with Verizon and got us flagged as a public safety entity, so that now our Verizon devices and internet connections will have no throttle, and we will always get priority access to their network in case of emergencies. So that was just an update from Mark, and I'm available for any questions.
Yes, please, Director Nichols.
I don't know if this is a request of a preview or if you've already thought about this, but when it comes to the anticipated changes of annual expenses with the acquisition of this property, I know in some of the prior conversations you've had, there's a level of comfort that it could happen. Is this going to just be explaining all the nuts and bolts as to how that is going to work, or is there things that you just maybe haven't really had time to go through piece by piece, and that will be revealed at this time?
So I think we have a pretty good idea of what to expect here. And I will get as nuts and bolts as you want. But yeah, that would be where I would introduce, I think we'll probably need some additional bodies. We'll need to increase utility expenses, things like that. And that's where I'll flag those changes for everybody. Because the first budget that we're going to adopt is the same budget you already saw, which won't include this hill. And so that's the meeting where I'll say, this is the number I am changing in the budget specifically for this hill. So you'll see at least those line items, and if you want to dig more into those details, I'm happy to.
Okay. And with the current schedule of acquisition, when do you expect these new expenses to start?
Based on my conversations with the potential municipal advisors, I would expect at the earliest May, but most likely we were saying July 1, so we could kind of do it all at July 1.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Mhm.
Thank you.
I bet that Director Nichols, your jar of nuts and bolts and my jar of nuts and bolts would be different. All righty, so I think we're, I'm sorry, Director Huffer.
Hopefully, Melissa, you have a completely automated, human never touches piece of paper to generate all these for all of our employees.
It depends on who opts for paperless or not. So,
yes. It is an opt-in, opt-out.
Yes.
Okay. Because I opted out of paper, but that's all right.
And any other comments? Okay, Mr. Friedel.
Okay. Again, I want to thank the entire board for that agenda item, 401, 403 Fireworks Hill. I like to characterize it as it'll be like buying your first home. It's going to be a financial stretch for a couple of years, but I think very shortly thereafter, it'll start to feel more comfortable. And by 20 years from now, people will be like, how could we possibly not have that? Why that would be ludicrous. So I think this board, I believe deserves a ton of credit for making sure that the future of Thousand Oaks is going to be pretty rad. It's going to be great. Board buddies, did you hand out the board buddies? So you have your board buddies. So that's, our proposal. That's not like a, must be that way, but we do look at the history of who had whom, and we try to give you guys a new person. So if you've never had somebody who is on one of your sister agencies, we try to make sure that you get that person. So it's not perfect because bodies move, different people come and go, but we think you guys all have, if not somebody new, somebody that you haven't had for a while. That's the goal. And if you remember, the whole idea with board buddies is all we ask of you is like one coffee just to get to know a colleague and another agency in a human way, just so that when you see them on the street, you know who they are and they know who we are. So I think that serves our whole community well when we know each other. Gratitude circle, I don't know if you got them. Rad. Okay. I'm using 80s slang for some reason. I don't know why. Since Brian's here, I'll mention I have on the agenda, and Andrew's got on the agenda, we do plan to bring an item on February 5th for the Boney Mountain Hot Sauce and Brian to work with them to bring the Oakhart Country Music Festival, I think that's what you're calling it, back. So that will come to this board next meeting. And I'm going to be out of town Monday through Wednesday, part work, part fun. I am on through the Capri, California Association of Rec and Park Indemnity, through our insurance JPA. I am on another board through that board that is called an insurance captive, and we're in charge of all the money for Capri. So I have to go to Utah for that meeting. It's an annual once-a-year meeting. So I'll be there, and since I'm there, I will end up in Park City for a day or two. So I am available for questions.
Do we have any questions for Mr. Friedel? Okay, moving on. Let's go with our director's reports. Can we start with you, Director Orozco?
Great. Thank you, Chair. I think since the new year, I was trying to remember. I think the only thing that I've been to is was it Tuesday night's city council meeting where the city council voted to move forward with our acquisition of the Hillcrest Center. So yeah, that's been about it for me. Thank you.
Director Nichols?
I feel like I must have been remiss in my duties because after going to about a dozen different activities in the first 2 weeks in December, I don't think I've done anything since. Since December 18th, which was our last board meeting. Oh, I did have a CARP, the Association Rec and Park District. We did have a conference committee meeting, but other than that, it was a little bit of a respite. So that was it.
Director Buss?
I went to the city council meeting on Tuesday. I did go to Santa Anita Park recently. I had not been there, and not gonna lie, I was kind of like, huh, maybe that. I'm just kidding. We're not bringing horse racing. And then I will be again at Moore Park soccer fields. I will say that I think they are probably not as nice as Conejo Creek South, but they're right there with us, except for their parking situation when you're getting out is kind of a pain. I was at Conejo Creek last night with a little scrimmage. We took on brought back the 16U team. I know you guys are excited. We had a little reunion, and I brought in some club players to show these 6th graders what's up, and we won. Okay, 2 to 3. Yeah, I know. It's getting to that level.
That's hilarious.
I did get pitched to join a co-ed team, 40 and over. I think I might have to participate, and I'll let you know. Be at Dos Viennos. The kids want me to get out there really bad. My husband thinks I'm going to hurt myself. I said, isn't this why we work out? So I'll let you know if I end up playing. And then I was going to say, my husband has been working with Puma. I don't know if most of you know, but it's some of our at-risk youth. And he sent me the most beautiful picture because they are planting trees out in, I guess it was a burn space before. And so now there's a grant. Yeah. And he was out there with Tim Hagel, and they were planting the trees, and it was gorgeous after the rain. So I just was like, that's so cool you're doing that. So he's loving it. That's his community service work. But yeah, so I'll let you know, we are in first place right now in the All-Star tournament. Okay. We are tied with the other Thousand Oaks first place team, Rick's team. But they have 2 more goals against them than we do. So I'll let you know how this weekend turns out. It's going to be intense. I'm going to tell you that. Sunday. Really intense.
All righty. Okay, Director Huffer.
Well, you're in luck. I'm not refereeing any of your games this weekend, so.
My daughter will be upset. She likes it when you ref.
I see. Sort of like Director Nichols, there wasn't that much at the end of December. Of course, part of it was I left town for a week, and I figured it must have rained the entire week I was gone, so I left Christmas Eve morning to a downpour, and I returned New Year's Eve morning to a downpour. So I figured it just rained the entire week between Christmas and New Year's here. So the only official CRPD meeting was Director Cusworth and I met with the large events committee, and 2 other related items I've already mentioned. We finally got out on the soccer fields last Saturday, and Our winter league had about 300 kids who really enjoyed getting out. Although some of them, some of them checked the field conditions Friday night and said, well, the fields are still closed, so we're not going to come and play. And so this coming weekend, everyone will be there, and that'll be just great. And then the other thing, we started training, I think they said somewhere 19 or 20 new tax preparers for the tax program, which means those of us who've been there for a few years won't have to do anything. We'll let all the newbies do it all. So anyway, training the new preparers, reviewing with the experienced preparers, and let the community know that free taxes for anybody 60 and older, or income, I think it's 68,000 or less, or some number like that, regardless of age. So let the community know.
Thank you very much. And as he mentioned, I was at the large event meeting, and I was over at the Stagecoach Inn for their ribbon cutting, and I was over at McCray Ranch today. So I think that ends this. Do we have any requests for status reports and items for subsequent agendas? Not that we know of. Is there anyone from the public that would like to speak? No? So how do we manage this executive closed session? Do you have to read something?
Oh, yeah, I forgot about it. I did. Yes, there is a need for a closed session under Government Code Section 54-957, Public Employee Performance Oh, I should remember that one. Public Employee Performance Evaluation, General Manager.
Okay. So, oh, thank you.
Thanks, Troy.
Good job, everybody. Congratulations.
Thank
Are
you.
you taking your shovel with you?
Yeah, that's over here.
Okay.
So with that, I am going to adjourn this meeting.